You know. Hello, this is Stephanie, and this is the Mocha Minutes Podcast. Hey guys, before we get into the episode, I just wanted to let you know about something that's a little new here at the Mocha Minutes Podcast. We are now participating in Buy Me a Coffee. So if you haven't heard, buymeacoffee.com is a place where you can show some support and some love monetarily to some of your favorite content creators. That includes me. So it's in the increments of either $1, $3, or $5, and you can do as many as you would like. So I just wanted to let you guys know, would love some support. So if you would go to buymeacoffee.com/Mocha Minutes, I would greatly appreciate it. It will also be in the show notes. Okay, here we go. It's 12 past midnight. Don't close your eyes. Your soul's half alive, and I'll be by your side. I've come to take you there, show you how to care. Just be aware that you'll have to share. I want your love. I want it tonight. I'm taking your heart, so don't you fight. I'll be your answer. I'll be your wish. I'll be your fantasy, your favorite dish. From the back to the middle and around again, I'm gonna be there till the end. 100% pure love. From the back to the middle and around again, I'm gonna be there till the end. 100% pure love. Welcome back to the Mocha Minutes Podcast. This is Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me. We are back. I'm acting like it's been a long time. It hasn't been a long time since I left you without a dope beat to step to. It's just been a week. But I am back, and I'm very excited to have this person here. It's been a while since he's been here. He's so busy. He has like a fur baby that needs an Instagram, but basically the fur baby took over his Instagram. He has a whole podcast where he blows up this political shit. He has a whole job. He has a very beautiful wife. He has a beautiful life in Washington State. But I have Jay, Adjective _Jay. I might put the underscore wrong. But yeah, y'all know my buddy Jay.
You actually were right.
You call me Jay.
Yes. You were right about the underscore. That was right. 100% right. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I'm really happy to be here. I was just thinking it has been a while since I've been here.
It has been.
Like a long hot minute.
The last time we recorded was on your podcast, which fun.
Yes. That's right. I forgot about that. We did. Was that for New Year's?
I think so. It was like a little family. It's a Ratchet Aunties and Uncles family reunion.
Yeah.
It's coming back, y'all. I swear, we just have to get our shit together. We meeting Stephanie. It's nobody else but Stephanie.
It was a wild time. I had to do a lot of editing. It was wild. I remember that. It was just like,
it's so fun. Fuck, I gotta edit this shit.
So many tracks, so much to keep track of.
So many. It's like
it was good though. It was really good. It was
so much fun. It's so good. It's kind of like my buddy Brandon, who does comic books and Marvel and all of that. He's like, I love coming to your show because this stuff that I don't talk about on my show. It's like, yeah, because he's a poli-sci nerd. So he loves talking. Brandon would love to be on your show because it's like he likes talking this poli-sci shit. He loves it.
Oh, you know what? We should have him on. We had so we've been doing this weird thing, and I guess it's not really weird, but we've been having like progressive politicians on the show. Like,
I was like, oh, y'all better bring these people forward because they're like, no, it's just two people. I'm like, it's two types of politicians. I'm like, it's not really. It's just the progressive ones you may not hear about.
Yeah, well, we've had so far we've had two on the show, one from Pennsylvania and the other one from Virginia. And both of them have been the one from Virginia, Ali Dalsimer, was great. So was Alexandra Hunt from Pennsylvania. But in both cases, it was just kind of one of those things where they reached out to us, which was
That is dope.
unexpected. Yeah, no, that was unexpected. But yeah, and also in both cases, it was fun because before I do this whole thing, especially if someone's going to come on the show as like a politician, like I was like, read your platform, let's see what you have. And so for both, I dove into their platforms and the things I ended up learning about the area that they were representing, but also just about just some policies and ways to look at policies was actually kind of cool for me. So there's just things that I learned that I was like, oh, this is actually kind of dope.
Cool.
It's actually pretty cool.
I'm glad. And the thing about it is, I think for some people, when they have certain guests on, they're like, oh, yeah, just come on my show. I'm like, but I'm sorry, but what do you stand for? Do you know what my show talks about? It's like, do you know this is a black ass show? You sure you want to come here? Oh, I just want to let you know. It's like, don't come to the Frown Town thing. It's like, so let me just softball this conservative view in here. Get the fuck out.
Oh, hopefully you listen to the show. Or just read the titles of the show. I feel like if you read the titles of our show, you'd be like, all right, this is not a conservative friendly zone. Yeah, we're not about that conservative life. We're barely about that moderate life. And it's barely.
It's so far, it's far left. Far.
Thank you.
It's so far left. It's like, it's past the work. What's past left? That's Frown Town.
Thank you, I think.
No, it should be. It's kind of like, will you imagine when they're like, what is considered moderate? And then they list things and you're like, that don't seem all that moderate to me.
Yeah, no, we're not. Well, I think I feel moderate amongst my social circle because as I have said before, I'm a self-professed black socialist. Many of the people that I know and are friends with, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's unfortunate, I guess, for me to be friends with them, but it's no, it's not unfortunate, truly, but they're anarchists. It's several. So they're much further left than I am. Where they're just like, you know what? How about society just deconstructs and we just go back to agrarian lifestyle?
I'm like, that, down.
I'm like, you know what? How about we just fix the systems that are broken now so that we all can share in the wealth that we've already accumulated? That would be awesome.
I mean, they're like, no, it's just got to end. And it's like, so I hear you because I'm sitting here like, yeah, none of like all the systems were set up. It was just white people, and then all the white people we have now were not white people, and we were still property. And y'all was still trying to kill indigenous folks. You burying their bodies. You know what? I want to know why it didn't work out like Poltergeist, because I'd have haunted some asses. I would have turned into a pet cemetery.
That's why I don't think ghosts are real. That's why I don't think ghosts are real. Because here's the thing. I don't think they're real because think about how many people have died, like tragically died. Like we should just be running into ghosts like every day. You shouldn't be able to like brush your teeth without a ghost being like I'm the ghost of Oral B.
I need some people haunted. I need them little dolls like Tales from the Hood coming and chewing people alive.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're real.
Where are the dolls?
I don't think ghosts are real.
Where is the
can't hope for ghosts.
Cemetery with the S? I was like,
oh, please don't. No, thank you.
Mind you, I read that book and I was like, I read this book. Why was it an S again? I don't remember. But God, they fucked up those movies. I'm like, please stop trying to make Pet Cemetery
I saw the movie as a child.
Oh my God.
A very young child. Well, first of all, I was 5. I shouldn't have seen that movie.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's the child I was. And
yikes.
I did not get over my fear of cats.
Excuse me. I was a child. See, I don't know if everybody remembers. So, My Buddy and Child's Play came out the exact same year.
Same color hair.
So quick. It's like none of y'all sat in the room and talked to each other. And mind you, my brother wanted a My Buddy. He instead got like this monster cousin, and I still hated that shit. I cut the nose off.
But here's the thing: there was a black My Buddy.
It was.
Why not but the black My Buddy wasn't in the movie,
right?
So why didn't that one? The sales of that should have
white
exploded.
People weren't going to buy the black one, and he had a kid sister.
I mean, the optics aren't good either way, right? So if you're if you're conservative, you're like, nah, get that. black child out of
It's
here.
like, excuse me,
But if
I
you're
don't want. Why would I need
liberal,
a black doll? I'm like, you should just like it or get the kid's sister.
but if you're liberal, then it looks like, I'm giving.
Oh.
Black people are taking care of my child again. It looks bad. Their optics are bad. I mean,
Very.
they shouldn't be. And some brave souls are gonna have to be the Jackie Robinsons here
They really
and step
are
up
have to be.
and be the first white people to be like, you know what? Give me that black doll
See,
and give it to a white girl.
Y'all wouldn't have tanked the Gem movie if y'all had made it the actual synergy had been in it and y'all had just made Gem black. So you know what? I'm about it. Make Gem black. Actually have the fucking holograms. I'm like, so fuck y'all. I'm sorry. I've been watching the cartoon on Tubi. It's free. And I'm like, see, the more I watch these episodes, the more I fucking hate that movie.
Wait, was Jim black?
No, she was not. Shayna was black. She was in the group.
Okay. I was gonna say
Yes,
I feel like there was
the show.
I feel like there was a black one, but was Jim the black one?
No, Jim was the white girl with the pink hair, and then she had a sister Kimber, who had magenta pink hair, and then there was Aja, their Latinx friend with the blue hair, and then Shayna was their black friend with the purple hair.
So here's my question for you.
Oh boy.
This is light. So like if you're going to, let's say, so we have properties for whatever reason, we keep going back to these old properties. I don't know why we keep doing it. I would prefer we make new stuff, but whatever. Please. We're going to do it. We're going to do it anyway. So let's do it. All right. So let's take something a little bit like even this one. So all right, like Josie and the Pussycats, for example. Josie and the Pussycats initially had, I want to say, one black girl. I feel like one white girl.
Yep.
And then one girl who may or may not have been brown. I don't know what she was, but
Josie was the one because it was
Josie was no, and then the leader was Josie, but Melanie was the white girl.
Yep.
The black girl, what was her name? I should remember the black girl's name. I feel
Quiet
bad for
as kept.
forgetting it.
It's so bad. It's like, so the thing about this.
Why did I remember the blonde's name and not the black girl's name?
Right. I was like, I remember Josie.
I remember Josie. I remember Melanie. I remember Melanie because she was ditzy and she got
Valerie.
all the jokes.
Her name is Valerie. Thank you, Wikipedia. But
Melanie got all the jokes. Well, just Melanie got all the jokes. It was always just be like, I'm ditzy Melanie.
The show.
It's a great show. So here's my question.
Like the movie.
So here's my question. So would you prefer that they kept the same? I don't want to say color schema because that feels wrong. But kept the characters the same, but instead of like for Melanie, instead of her being a ditzy blonde, expand her story. Instead of Valerie just being the stern or soulful black person, expand their stories so that they and explain how did this black girl end up like playing drums for this band? How did this blonde girl end up on the bass? Like, how did Josie start a band? Yeah. Why are they called the Pussycats? That's a terrible name. Like, expand on that story and like kind of keep like. So I wonder if it's better to like keep the composition of original groups and then just expand on stories so that it's not stereotyped. Or do you just because honestly what happens is they change some characters' colors, but then they don't do anything with their stories, and it's like, well,
that don't make sense.
Right. I can't believe if we make Josie black, I can't believe a little black girl has and this is wrong, but has the time and wealth and assets to sit around with a band, and her family's just like, yeah, we got a giant ass garage where we don't care about you making noise at all times of the night. I don't believe that. It just doesn't feel like our culture.
We don't.
It doesn't feel right. It doesn't. My mom made me play French horn in the backyard. Yeah, I had to play French horn in the backyard.
I played flute. Rainbow Connection was my solo in elementary school.
And where did you practice? Were you allowed to practice in the house?
I was.
But not.
Mostly.
And I am bitter about it. I am bitter about it, as you can tell. I had to go every time I went to practice. Solo,
I had to practice. So it's like, I wasn't just in the band. It's like I'm doing Rainbow Connection. I was like,
oh, here's one for you. I didn't have a solo, but I was the only French horn in the band. So
you stuck out.
All of my parts were solo. If I was like, Lord. Literally, if I fucked up, it was like, oh, did you hear that French horn fuck up? Because you could totally hear him fuck up.
What? Excuse me, that French horn is fucking sharp.
You can totally hear him. Like that's what I was the only one. For years. So I was in the backyard for like 2 or 3 years. If my 8th grade year, finally, like one of the 6th grade chairs picked up French horn and started playing. And she actually turned out to be really good at it. She actually surpassed me in like under a year.
Oh,
Like in 6 months, she like took my chair, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad that I don't have to practice in the backyard anymore. like,
like
I'm
great. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm out.
I'm not going
Excuse my
anywhere.
French, but fuck this horn.
You know what I'm saying? This French horn's not taking me anywhere. I'm not about to
Well,
get a
excuse me.
scholarship.
Excuse me. Every time I see Lizzo, I was like, maybe I should have kept up with my flute because I could be just like Lizzo, doing crazy shit on TikTok and saying I love problematic black men and playing the flute.
Well, I mean, like you can still play flute on TikTok.
I mean, I could, but then I want the
And
money.
you don't have to say this stuff about problematic black men.
I mean, I should not be like, no, I want to be on camera telling a problematic black man, you're my favorite person in the world. Girl, shut up. I'm sorry. Y'all, we are not here to talk about
Flutes.
our days in the band. And
So we were both in bands.
so,
Shout out.
I love it. It's like we are band geeks. It's like, how this happened, girl? I don't know, but we just did it. But I have asked Jay here because y'all are not living under rocks. Dave Chappelle dropped his final.
We hope. We hope. Cross your fingers and your
It's
toes.
like, I hope he's saying he done his final special for Netflix called The Closer. Now this caps off or puts a little button in his 4 stand-up deal with Netflix where a 15-minute IG video was funnier than all 4 of them. I said what I said. So I literally was like, why? It's like, there's a why to this. I am someone who, well, actually, no, Jay and I are both people like, I can say someone's my fave, but I can also say they're problematic and not feel, I'm unapologetic about this. I'm like, Dave Chappelle's a lot of people's problematic fave. I have several, like 7-ish. It's like two of them are no longer with us. It's Prince and Michael Jackson. And then I also have my love for Cardi B. See, everybody don't like me when I say Prince. They're like, what the fuck he do, girl? What did he not do? And then there's Michael. So there's that. And I have problematic faves all over the place, you guys. Everybody does. There's no way that you can have a fave that is not unproblematic. Excuse me. Somebody tried to break my heart this week when I said, look here. You better not say nothing about Dolly Parton. She's not problematic. Someone said, well, Stephanie, shut the fuck up. Look here. She's my unproblematic white woman. And they're like, well, she actually, nope. We don't do that here. You don't talk about Dolly Parton. I
truly am afraid that someone's going to be like, you heard about LeVar Burton, right? I'm like,
girl,
no,
right?
No. Don't do that. Do not do this to me.
I didn't want to hear enough. I'm like, y'all better not be saying enough about Alex Trebek because I'm like, so first of all, he's no longer with us. Second of all, shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing about Chadwick Boseman either. Okay? It's like he's one of my faves that's no longer with us. You better not say he did problematic. He didn't. So shut the hell up. Or Michael K. Williams. Okay? It's like, look, shut the hell up. Oh, fun fact, from that earworm, he danced in Crystal Waters' video for Pure.
Oh, did he?
He did. I think he said he did the choreography. I was like, oh, you were a club kid, bitch. Oh, I love him. But yeah, we're here to talk about Dave Chappelle. So he capped this off of literally, he started out with Sticks and Stones, and the reception was, these jokes aren't funny about trans folks. And instead of him actually wanting to be mature, like he is talking about people need to be in this 4th one, he spent the next, we'll see, Equimini and the Bird Revelation, I think that's supposed to be considered 2, so 5, but they put it together as 1, so that's why I say 4.
There's 2 of them that are like that, where he's got like, it's 2 back to back, and so he's got a total of almost 6, I think. Yeah,
so it's like Sticks and Stones, and then Equimini and the Bird Revelation. Then it's The Age of Spin.
Yep, and then there's a Dave Chappelle 2021 Mark Twain.
Yeah, the Mark Twain Prize. Hooray for him. And then it's The Closer. And like I said, that IGTV video that's like 10, 15 minutes was probably the funniest of all of these. I said what I said. You want to know why? Because he's not attacking anybody, but he is bitching about the fact that he walked away from $50 million And y'all should like, oh, I'm mad. And then you saw people who said, Monique, what the fuck you talking about? I will stream what the fuck I want to. You're not gonna tell me to do it. Them going, we need to boycott Netflix. But I thought y'all said that boycotting Netflix is dumb and we not doing
Yeah.
oh. So it's an hour and 12 minutes.
It's long.
In which
so
I
long.
was just like, that's
Oh
an
my
hour
God.
and 11 minutes too long for me.
It's brutal. It's brutally long.
I literally told my friend, I was watching on Saturday, 10 minutes in, I was like, I gotta turn this shit off because what the fuck is he talking about? I gotta
Stand up is hard for
and I
that.
was just like, because you do sets.
Stand up is hard to consume for that long. I'm not a big fan of I feel like hour long sets. Well, I think a good hour long set is amazing. So a great hour long set is great, but I feel like it is difficult for comedians to do that successfully multiple times, and then it is also just hard to consume. Like it was so like there were so many points where I had to force myself to focus back
I was
in.
like, I was like that little meme of Idris Elba sitting in the car with the glasses, where it's like, that was me for an hour and 12 minutes every so often. It was just like, this is not fucking funny. And it's not even just about the jokes. It was like, sir, you're Dave Chappelle. But the thing about it is, I'm sitting here like, maybe you're not as funny as I remember. Maybe that's me. Maybe it's like you're living off the legacy that is the Chappelle show. Because those are quick little bits, quick little sketches in an hour-long show, and then maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I think it's so. I think it's. There's a couple of different factors here, and I have this theory that I've been working on for a bit. That I think after you get successful as a comedian, you start to stagnate, and I think it's because when you're a comedian and you don't have any money when you start off, most people when they start off are broke. They don't have money, so you kind of are forced to live with other people in a forced living situation where it's like either roommates or apartment in a large city. And so you spend all this time, like, like for Dave, for example, he spent a lot of time in New York, living in New York, trying to make it as a stand-up comedian. So like you're just, and it impacts, I think being in that level of poverty impacts your viewpoint of the world and impacts the stories you have. And I think honestly, it's more relatable because it is easier to relate to someone who's poor than to relate to someone who's just rich and famous. It's hard, I feel, for you to make me feel bad for you for being rich and famous, especially if you frame it in the way that he frames it.
Like, so, it just happens to me and I am a victim here. And I'm like, it's interesting. We don't like when Black people play victim, but for some odd reason, for 3 specials, because the first one's like, people didn't realize this is what he was going to do. So I will give you that. So if we're doing 6, 5 specials, you've been playing I don't know why y'all just not getting what I'm saying, because it's not fucking funny. And it's like, literally, why do you keep doing this?
Yeah. And also I think it's just, he's an old Black dude.
He's an old Black dude. This is not my show. He that nigga in the barbershop.
Yeah.
He is that dude.
There's a lot of them in the barbershop. It's not just that dude. It's he's those dudes. Because like, as a person who goes to the barbershop frequently, he's my barber. And I am in a very liberal city. I'm in a city where, there are neighborhoods that are trans neighborhoods, which is dope.
Right.
But even in this city, when you go to the barbershop, amongst the Black people who live here, they're just like, oh man, those trans people, and they have issue with it, and it's those people I feel that are still supporting Dave Chappelle in that viewpoint, and then obviously every conservative alive is like, yep, and will support him because at this point it's just to quote unquote own libs.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is the bad part about it is I just want to look at Dave Chappelle going, if you got racist white people defending me, you should know you're going down the wrong fucking road. You should know you're not. But again, we also have the black people who really, really, really hate queer folks going, no, this is wrong. And then we got the notion of punching down because he said it, but it was very interesting that he said he was told this years ago before these specials. And now I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. Because the people that were calling him out were white, because he only mentioned white trans people and white queer folks, that he easily did what a lot of cishet black people do. White and LGBTQ plus are synonymous and they're not. It's like, where do you get it? It's like anti-blackness is in every group on the planet, including our own. But black people are in every group of the planet, including just blackness. I'm like, anti-Semitism, you're going to hit a black person. Homophobia, transphobia, you're going to hit a black person. Islamophobia, you're going to hit a black person. You're always going to hit one of us. And it's like, that's where you need to go. Like, they're like, why do you go so hard? Because there's some fucking black people over there. Black people that y'all love to quote. Black people that may be allegedly bi. Malcolm X, y'all love calling that nigga out. Y'all love talking about James Baldwin, not his queerness, just that he black.
Yeah.
Y'all love talking about Richard Pryor too. That nigga said shit on stage. It's like, yeah, I suck some dick. Wait, what the fuck is going? Wait, how did I miss this? And it's like, and he said it so nonchalantly, and they're like, well, he didn't say what he was. He also did say he sucked some dick. So I'm not calling him gay. I'm just saying he liked to suck dick. And eat pussy probably. I mean, I don't know. I'm not versed in Pryor. So I'm sitting here like, you do realize.
At the very least, it puts him outside of the constraints of quote unquote
straight. So yes. It's like, you guys, a lot of your faves, they might dip their toes in different ponds, and that honestly is fine. But Dave Chappelle, what you're not going to do is sit up here and say, y'all just won't let me make these jokes. I'm sorry, were you making a whole bunch of trans jokes on Chappelle's show and all the other specials? Because I feel like you didn't.
And okay, so let's talk about we won't let him make these jokes. He got a check from Netflix. Mm-hmm. He got on stage and did his jokes. Mm-hmm. He's done 6 specials. Mm-hmm. How are we not letting him make these jokes?
You're literally, what's like $70 million for him? Yeah. It's like, no one didn't stop you from making said jokes.
How are we not letting him make these jokes? They're still paying
your ass. What do you mean?
What's happening is he got on stage. Mm-hmm. He said some things. People didn't like what he said. And now he's suffering the consequences of that. But that's what happens to every comedian on every stage. Sometimes the consequences are just people stare at your ass and are just like
that's not funny. I mean, You could bomb like a Tiffany Haddish on New Year's Eve, and it's like, oof,
I feel
this is painful. I'm like, oh,
bombing is not fun.
It's not fun, especially not on New Year's Eve.
I was gonna say, it's on New Year's Eve and televised. Can it be
like April 25th? Not December 31st.
You don't want to start your year with a bomb. Like, I will say this though, Tiffany will be fine. Everyone,
she is just fine. She's still getting work, honey. She just not getting stand-up work, but she getting work.
No. Here's the thing: every stand-up comedian bombs. It happens. Correct. It's just what happens. You don't want it to be on your big sets, but you can't control it. Once it happens, you just go out there, you do your jokes, and sometimes it's just beyond your control. But you bounce back, and that's the point. But the problem I think that Dave Chappelle is having more than anything else is he's been taken to task for his jokes and for what he's saying, and he doesn't like it. He just wants people to either, and I think maybe he just is hoping that people either be like, oh, I don't like it, and I'll be quiet, or, be like, oh, I like it, and pat him on the back. And unfortunately, it's not how the world works.
Not anymore.
And it shouldn't work that way, because that's an unsafe world. An unsafe world where it's just like, oh, I didn't like that. I got to be quiet, though, because if I speak out against it, what could happen to me? How is that safe for anyone?
It's not.
And comedy is becoming, it's not a safe space right now, and I want it to be, but comedy is becoming a safer space. And there's a lot of reasons why comedy is unsafe that the average comedy viewer would not see, because there's so many predators. I think you kind of, like, the Me Too movement was great, and I'm not here to knock it, but it didn't go deep enough. There's so many more predators and so many people.
Louis C.K. is not a unicorn, honey. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, it's just him.
It's not. He's not the exception.
It's
and
not.
it's not just that, but he's the rule, and
Mm.
so the producers are, there. It's not a safe
Space.
world for everyone right now,
Yeah.
and in the case of Dave Chappelle, for example, he made this big point of talking about this transgender comedian, his one transgender comedian that was his
Mm-hmm.
friend that he tried it out to absolve him of all
Mm-hmm.
his sins.
Mm-hmm.
Which the irony of a black person doing that is
Mm.
rich. But the
Mm-hmm.
point that I'm here to make, I'm going to make my point. I'm going to get there. What happens is that Dave Chappelle and what he's saying and using these jokes is essentially just making an unsafe space for people who are black, gay, and comedians. For people who are black, trans, and comedians. There are trans comedians who work. I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of trans comedians. I
Yeah.
work with a lot of trans comedians. And what ultimately ends up happening is because comedians that are big do names, big names do material like this,
Mm-hmm.
they make the spaces unsafe for the trans comedians who aren't big names, who have to go and work those spaces, and who
Mm-hmm.
have to go and tell jokes from a perspective where they are not the punchline, where they're not the butt of the joke,
Yeah.
and it makes it an unsafe space for them. And not just that, but also like it's I know a trans comedian that had to sit through a relatively known comedian. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Okay, I know a trans comedian who had to sit through, and this isn't my story to tell truly, but
Mm-hmm.
I know a trans comedian who had to sit through a relatively well-known comedian doing a lot of very offensive transsexual jokes.
Mm.
And when they confronted the comedian about it and just said, "Hey, those jokes are offensive," not only did the comedian dismiss them, but the producer of the show and the owner of the club and the people who control the fate of this comedian's ability to work in this club at least threw them out. And by just
Mm.
right, by just them voicing, yeah,
What?
by just them voicing how they felt about the jokes that were offensive to them,
Mm-hmm.
they were basically in a space where no one was on their side.
Yikes.
And that's the I think the biggest damage I feel that can happen from Dave, because Dave Chappelle doing this as a special, it disseminates to a lot of people, but you don't get to special material by just doing it. This isn't the first time he's done these jokes. It's not the first time he's done this material. He's traveling the country doing this. So he's going to spaces where live comedy is happening. He's doing this material where trans comedians work and try to make a living. He comes in, does all of this, and then just basically leaves toxicity in the pool for them to then have to try to get up on stage and deal with after he's gone.
Yeah. And I
It's
think that's the issue. Is what gets me, Jay, when people say nobody complained about this before. And it's like social media has you thinking that people didn't have opinions and thoughts and express themselves. They just didn't have social media to do it. They had to do it on blog posts or their journal or take their signs and boycott a movie called Beverly Hills Cop because of one of Eddie Murphy's stand ups.
yeah,
I believe it was, I don't know if it was Raw or Delirious.
delirious maybe.
And it may have been one that I fuck it. And I tell everybody, Delirious is one of the funniest things, but I'm like, but skip the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I literally
Raw
tell
is
people that. It was just like,
yeah. And
yeah,
Eddie
skip the
Murphy
first
and
10,
Eddie Murphy
15.
is a good example. He himself has said like, yeah, there was a different time.
And I would
I
never make those
I would
jokes
never do
anymore.
those jokes now. He was like, I understand the harm that they could cause, and I feel like at least someone who admits like I need to keep up with the times.
Mm-hmm. And you watch people go, what the hell, Eddie? What you mean? What the? Wait a minute. You don't want him to grow up. You really want him to be as immature as you thought. What about our king? Because the other person I think is hilarious that people are bringing up is George Carlin. And I'm like,
Yeah.
have you ever watched George Carlin? Literally, it is a minute and a half video that keeps coming up because y'all think y'all knew what George Carlin would have said. And it's like,
Mm.
he wouldn't have. So the bad part about it, I keep putting it out every time I see it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep putting this here because I think y'all are missing this. because so for anybody who's not seen it, back when Larry King was doing Larry King Live, when he was still alive.
Alive.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. This is from 1990, the clip. So this is around the time where Andrew Dice Clay had very offensive stand-ups, so much so that Sinead O'Connor said, I will not perform on Saturday Night Live with him. And I mean, Homegirl tore up a picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. The episode you can't watch because they pulled that. They scrubbed it from the internet. You can't find it even if you wanted to. You couldn't find it.
Still don't understand why they did that.
It was just like, fight the real enemy. It was just like, excuse me, do you know how many Catholics watch our show? What the hell are you doing, Sinead? It's like, I mean, should we bring up the slave trade or no? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all don't care about black shit. Never mind.
Yep. Let me
shut up. You don't. I mean, you don't really care about us. So Carlin was asked about Andrew Dice Clay. So I have the quote. He said, "I will fight to the death for him to say what he says." But he's like, well, it's one thing. And the bad part about he softballed this and said, it's not really a critique. It's not really a critique. I'm like, it is a critique, George, but I hear you. Because it's kind of like, if I'm going to defend your free speech, I'm going to defend it. But it bothers me that you're doing this. And so Carlin said, comedy has traditionally picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants, to my way of thinking, are underdogs. And that was who Andrew Dice Clay did his comedy about. So much so that he broke character on Arsenio Hall. And he's like, it's so hard. I'm like, this is your choice. You're making these jokes and going like, why y'all being so mean? So George Carlin went on to continue. I think Andrew's core audience is young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure of their manhood. I think that's often a problem when you're going through adolescence. And the women who assert themselves and that are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs. He brought up jobs, but he also said Andrew needs to watch himself because he's Jewish. And he's on that list of targets if he really looks. And I'm like, yeah, so you are punching down, sir. Do you know how many anti-Semitic jokes you probably are the butt of and you probably don't know, but other Jewish people would know that. It's like, you're like, oh, I'm a comedian. I'm let this roll off my back. Then what the fuck you crying on Arsenio Hall for?
I feel like I don't like this concept of people saying that you're too sensitive. Mm-hmm. And that you have to let things go. And some of this is, and it's been a while since I've been on the show, so if I've said this before, I apologize. But some of this, apologize. Cool. I don't apologize. I'm not sorry for this at all. That's right. Fuck this. Sorry, not sorry. No. I'm gonna repeat myself word for word now. No. Comedy started off as this thing for white men. It was white male perspective. It was white men telling jokes for other white men. White men would get home from work. Well, no, they leave work. They step into comedy clubs, drinks, have cigarettes, and hear a white guy tell them something funny. That's where it started. What's happening is it slowly started to shift away. Black people started getting involved in comedy really, really early, but they were still kind of telling jokes from a white male perspective because that's still the audience they were telling jokes for. Mm-hmm. So if you look at a lot of jokes by like Red Fox and even some of the earlier jokes by Richard Pryor, not like the later stuff, but the earlier stuff, you start seeing like, these are jokes that are clearly meant to kind of like make white people laugh. And what's happened is Richard Pryor was probably the person who did this. And Red Fox, I shouldn't take anything away from him. He was way edgier until it came about making that money, and then he cleaned himself up and he went on like I think it was a Coca-Cabana and did all clean jokes, and white people were like, yay, we love you, Red Fox, and then he got a show. So Red Fox was way edgier and way more about fuck these white people until they gave him money. But Richard Pryor actually did this great thing where he legit figured out a way to do commentary, like social commentary, while telling jokes. And he did it in an honest, like a brutally honest way. Mm-hmm. In a way that, when you walked away from it, you still laughed. And you were like, this is funny. Mm-hmm. But also, I think we might be fucking over the black community. Like it
Yeah.
was, it's and
Yeah.
Paul Mooney, and I think Paul Mooney's influence on him
Yeah.
and other comedians of that era kind of started to shift the lens away from just being white male perspective. And then there was an explosion of, women who began to do the same thing. People who were more than black, so brown comedians started to get into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still starting to see, gay comedians are I can name 2 to 3 gay comedians who are, big names now. I think as can we all.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing now is that trans comedians who exist are also now trying to join the ranks of comedians. And as every new rank of comedian has joined, the lens had to shift. So at one point, you could do a lot of jokes about things being quote unquote gay. And I don't mean that in the way that it sounds like, but at one point you could do that. You could do those jokes. You could do gay jokes and be offensive in that matter because there were no other gay comedians in the realm. And there was no lane. It was just like, oh, you just wander all over there and it's like whatever. And of course, you're still offensive, but there was no one there to check you on it or call you on it. And no one else. There's no other gay comedians. Once gay comedians started, we started seeing a lot of that peel back and trim back.
Yeah.
Same thing for, even jokes about black people. As more and more black comedians started gaining relevance, we started seeing white comedians peeling back on that. Latinx jokes started peeling back. Like as like George Lopez becomes more and more prominent, you don't see as many white people trying to do like, oh, let me do these jokes about these Latinx people. Yeah. So what ends up happening, I think, is we're just seeing the pull away of like, all right, so you don't get to just dance in this lane anymore. And I think there's some comedians who feel like they should be able to tell jokes about anything. Like I can tell jokes about anything or anyone, and if it's funny, it doesn't matter. But that's not the case.
It's not, and
because it's not your lane.
Because and it's not even. Sometimes it's so weird when I think about it because it's not even about equality. It's just I want to do what a white dude can do, and they're like, see, this don't happen to no white dudes. I'm like, because I saw it's not weird when I say it, but I saw everybody jumping on everybody with Steve Rogers when it comes to Dave Chappelle. It's like, no, he's not wrong. He is wrong. It's like, no, you're not going to cancel. No, cancel these white dudes. I'm like, yeah. So let me know, when the last time you saw a stand up from Kramer? When the last time you saw that? But there was some dude who got on. I don't even remember this clown's name. He made Asian jokes. Grand opening, grand closing at Saturday Night Live, and he busted his ass to get there. So it's kind of like
Michael Richards,
right?
Done.
Right. It was like, yeah. Let me know. You seen Michael Richards lately? It's like, and that was before big social media. He was out. They're like, absolutely not.
I was like right in the middle. I feel like it was
like
hot on. Like 2010, it was hot on Twitter. I remember tweeting about it. It was hot on Twitter. They were dragging his ass.
It was Wild West Twitter. I forgot, but it's not like it is now.
Yeah,
meaning that you would have to go hunt for that video. If this happened last year, it's like, no, it'd be like 7 people. It'd be like, girl, I got this saved in my damn phone right now. Hold on, let me pull it up and let you see it. What the fuck is going on there?
You just had to like be like, yo, anyone got that Michael Richards video?
And you know what's really funny? A lot of people don't remember that. That's how I know, because I'm like, so when the last time you seen Kramer?
Old Dude on SNL, truly, I feel like that was just a pure cancel, straight up and down.
And it was so funny because he was like, I said what I said because he was like, why can't I be a conservative person and be like this? I'm like, because you can't. Have a good day. It's like, why do you think you should just be able to say what the fuck you want? But if it was towards you, you'd be like, absolutely not.
He can
say what you want. You don't want the consequences. Say what you want.
Not even consequence. He can say what he wants, but what he's failing to realize is that hate speech, it doesn't count for jokes with everyone. It's a very thin audience. Like, unless he's going to be doing like a KKK rally, like he just doesn't
have
like.
Hire you, boo.
Yeah, they will. So he's got an audience out there of just white supremacists who have, I guess, swastika tattoos and a need to laugh, and he can go holler at them. But in all honesty, that's the thing that. So every comedian that says like, oh, I don't understand why I can't tell these jokes. You've bombed before. This shouldn't be new to you. This is just an audience of people being like, no, thank you. And that's it's something that all of us experience. So why are you having such a hard time with it now?
I don't know. When I tell people that and I probably have told people this, Eddie Murphy's Nutty Professor,
Mm-hmm.
I don't rewatch. And ironically, this scene involves Dave Chappelle. He was
Yeah.
acting, but it was a part of the movie, y'all, when his first time Sherman and I can't remember Jada Pink Miss Purdy, I think that was her name in the movie, Jada
Yeah.
Pinkett Smith's character, where he like, you're watching a stand-up comedian and then you watch he's making all these jokes of people in the audience. So he was like, let me get my ass on out of here, but he couldn't move fast enough. And so you saw people laughing and him making all these constant fact jokes, and you hear the soundtrack. And I was a child because this came out, I think, 1995. So I was in,
Mm-hmm.
high school. Yeah, I was. It's like, I remember telling my mother this a couple of years ago, and she had no idea. She was like, "Really?" I cried in the movie theater watching that, and I've
Yeah.
never watched The Night Professor. It's like I haven't been watching. It's like when it comes on, I'm like, I wouldn't know because I don't watch it. I
It's a
barely
painful
watched the
scene to
second one,
watch.
and so it's kind of like, mind you, that was 1995,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 97. I don't know. Isn't there? I was a child, and I'm saying a child under 18 to me is a child. I'm just saying. And so I'm sitting here like, that was, if this was in the 90s and this is like, oh, it's just jokes. Imagine having more agency in 2021 to say why this is a problem, especially when your jokes can be has proximity to violence of people in your own community, but you don't value all of their identities. So you think that shit is fine. Because I think what I see when I see Chappelle, he is very upset that people weren't like, you fed into the beast that was, we need Chappelle back. We missed the Chappelle show. You can't see his show. He come back, and it wasn't like universal. Everybody is saying, oh my God, this was so funny. You saw people going, so I like Chappelle and I'm offended. And he's like, what you mean?
Yeah.
Because in this special, he was like, Twitter is not a real place, but hey, hi, David. Most of the thought and the threads was on Twitter. So why are you saying it's not a real place, but then bringing up what Twitter did? It's like, so is it a real place or not? You said it wasn't real. What you saying, David?
A lot of, well, I think we talked about it. A lot of his arguments in that, I don't want to call it a stand-up special. A lot of his arguments in that TED Talk, was it not even TED Talk? In that hateful ass rally.
That Instagram video, that IG live video.
A lot of his, yeah, but a lot of his arguments and like his reasoning is fake. It's like we talked about a little bit before the show. He does this whole thing where he's like, well, how come America can accept Caitlyn Jenner, but it can't accept Muhammad Ali changing his name? And it was like, all right, but Caitlyn Jenner was in like the 2000s and Muhammad Ali was in 1960s. And like and that's not even still a comparison. Like if we want to compare things, let's talk about people changing their name. Prince changed himself to a symbol and no one said shit. We were like, this is weird, but I guess we just call him the artist formerly known as Prince.
He put slave on his face.
It was like
the artist album. Absolutely, I loved Emancipation.
The artist formerly known as Prince. Ron Artest got into a giant ass fight. Woo. Changed his name to Meta World Peace, and then changed again just to Meta World. I think it's just Meta Artest. It might be Meta Peace Artest.
But he just when you said it, I was like, wait, he changed his name back? Because I watched, because you know,
I think he gained the Artest back. I don't. I think that's it.
Because I watched the
Thriller and the Malice in the Palace.
Malice in the Palace.
That was good.
Because that's the thing. It was so good because it's like, I didn't grow up in a basketball house. Like my brother was a basketball fan, but it wasn't like it's kind of like if it's like not all the men in your house do one sport, then it's like it was more of a football house because both of them watch football. But my brother really watched basketball. So Malice in the Palace is like I don't remember any of this. It's like clips here and there because some of that shit made it. Remember when MTV used to have news? It made it some news. It's like a few of those things I reckon remember.
With
it's like
was it Kurt
Loder?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, oh wait, he's still with us? Like, why he not giving us the news? Sir, you're still of use. What are you
Kurt
doing?
Loder.
So
Oh
it's kind of like
man,
that's what you said. It. I was like, wait a minute, because now I have
that's
to go
how I
back and
learned
look.
that
I was
Tupac
like,
died.
right? And Biggie.
That's
He was like, what?
Kurt Loder is the one who told me Tupac died. Yeah, and Biggie. It was like, God
Yes!
damn you, Kurt
Because it
Loder.
was in
It was in the
Tupac's.
morning.
It was like, what the fuck?
MTV News in the morning. Turned it on. It's like, oh, let me catch some.
Terrible news out of Las Vegas. What the fuck?
Tupac Shakur is dead. It's like, God damn it.
Oh my
Fuck
god.
you, Kurt Loder.
It's like, so I want to put sugar in your gas tank. What the fuck do you mean Tupac is dead?
How dare you? Did you kill him? Did you do it?
Dare you, sir? It's like, how dare you? So yeah,
I'm just trying to start my day at 12:30.
And here you go. It's like, really? I can't believe you just busted my. So yeah, mind you, it's from 1995. The Nutty Professor, and I'm like, so when people say people weren't that sensitive, it's like, it's not that they weren't. They were that sensitive. Because the boycotting of Eddie Murphy came in the 90s, 15 years after Delirious. It wasn't like it just came out because he was shooting a movie. People remembered. And what did he do? He apologized. And even now, coming back, they're like, oh, we might get a new Eddie Murphy special. He's like, I would never make those jokes. And people are like, how could you abandon this? He's like, because I'm fucking grown. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because when he was doing Delirious, I think he said he was 21. And it's like, oh, so you're a dumbass kid.
And it, for a very long time, there was this mentality of don't come to comedy clubs if you don't want to have someone
too sensitive.
If you're soft, if you don't want someone to take shots at you. Yeah. And I think the Nutty Professor. By the way, you weren't the only person who cried at that scene. It was hard for me too. I cried too. I cried at it because I got made fun of my entire life. Until I was 15, I found out I was funny, and then that's how I kept from being made fun of. I was just funnier. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you could make fun of me, or you could lose in this comedy competition against me because my jokes are hot. Like, I'm not even a mean person. Not even me telling mean jokes. It's just I'm great at redirect. Yeah, I'm funny. I'm good at redirect. And I will laugh at the things you say about me and then build on them and make them worse. And you'll be like, oh my God, how is he funnier with the jokes about himself than I am? But anyway, that was my thing. But the point is that I understand that feeling because I've been in a room of kids where they start making fun of other kids. I'm like, oh shit, I know I'm up next. I've been in a comedy club before where they're going around making fun of people, and that, like, the dread and the terror and the fear of someone's going to say something, and especially for people who are making fun of you, they don't realize that a lot of times the things that you are making fun of are so deeply hurt, like painfully felt for me. And it's something that I'm so sensitive. It's not even a sensitivity that, because there are things you can make fun of that I'd be like, haha, whatever. Like, there's some things where like it's this is traumatic because I've carried this my entire life. This is a painful thing for you to make fun of because this is something that, it's not like I'm not trying to be a different person. I'm not trying to change this, but it's something that I have struggled with and wrestled with. And now in public, in front of all these people, and what many people call your worst fear, you are now going to not only bring this up, but get everyone here to laugh at me, at the thing that I am most like hurt about it, and the thing that I am most vulnerable about. Yeah. And I feel like that's why as a comedian, I see this all the time. When people come to comedy clubs, they won't sit in the front. People will sit there and be like,
not. They'll be like,
I'm not sitting. No.
Back. Nope.
They won't sit in the front, and you'll see comedians kind of like talk about people for doing it and like give them a hard time. I honestly think it's because they feel as if it's unsafe there because they're afraid that someone is going to say something so harsh about them, that they're not going to have a good time. And I feel like if you feel like that's what you should do as a comedian, then you're not really fulfilling your job.
Yeah. And I can't remember if it was D.L. Hughley or if it was Kevin Hart. It's hilarious when I think about it. But one of them was not having a good set. I think it was D.L. Hughley in Kings of Comedy, where his set was like, oh, but then it got funny when he started going after people in the audience. And it was like,
that was what he was known for.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you go, how are you not funny unless you're making fun of somebody else?
And don't get me wrong, there is a lane in comedy for mean-spirited roasting. roasting is fun. I feel like you can roast someone and
If you
still be
want to sit here and
respectful.
say I want to do a roast, it's like be like if it's your roast, you gotta have thick skin because they're gonna go below. And it's like somebody's like, "Whoa, you went a little too far. You put too much dip on your chip." Somebody's like, "Yeah, I can expect you to get roasted about this."
Well, I feel like you can roast an audience, but you can still be respectful about it.
Correct.
And I've seen it done. I've done it myself. Where there's a I feel like in doing it, I think your goal is for everyone to have fun, not for everyone else or not for you. Your goal is like, I want everyone to enjoy this experience. So you make sure that if you are picking on someone or playing with someone, that they understand that it's playful. And there's a level, to your point, there's a line that most of us kind of know not to cross. And if you're unsure of where the line is, don't toy with people in the audience.
Yeah.
That's pretty
it's like,
simple.
Don't do it because you don't know. Some of these people got guns. They might shoot your ass. I mean,
Well,
we have heard about shootings at comedy clubs.
Not just that. Again, I would say this. My biggest problem with comedy is that, this is something I work in, and I want it to be safe. Because of who I am, comedy is relatively safe for me.
Because
I'm a 6'6" black man.
Right. It's like, yeah, you can try me if you want, but
give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Take your best shot, bitch.
But on the flip side of that, though, I have literally been in the back of a room during jokes where someone's joking about doing blackface, where someone's joking about being racist, and I'm sitting through like racist jokes, and it is extremely frustrating for me as a comedian.
Especially when they come to you, hey man, how'd you like my set?
No, they know better. The times it's happened.
Ask you anymore?
No, the times it's happened. I during their set. So one time someone went super racist. Here's the thing, Stephanie. I don't think you ever seen me do stand up before. So I need to tell you this.
I've seen your clips. I have seen some of the clips,
right.
But I haven't seen a whole set. So yeah.
Right. So there I do. There's a couple of jokes I do that are very racial. One of them, there's a set about 5 minutes long that I do about the first time I got called nigger. Hard R.
Woo-wee.
And we have a lot, we spend 5 minutes in that world talking about that. The first time my wife got called nigger. Yikes. The first time black people get called nigger. We spend a lot of time in that world. Ooh. So when I do that set, it kills, by the way. It's a really, really popular set. But when I do that set, sometimes I'll do it, and then there'll be a very racist white person who's a comedian who will be like, "Oh, I just heard this one person talking about racism, so now I'm gonna do a bunch of jokes about racism and being racist because this guy was just talking about race. If he can do it, then so can I." So then they start launching into their jokes, but their jokes are racist, and they don't understand how my jokes talking about racist and talking about racism are different from their jokes, which are racist, coming from racists. They don't see the difference. They don't understand that difference. And it is frustrating for me that the time it's happened, several times it's happened. I've walked out, and one time I walked out very loudly and flicked off the dude as I walked out because he said some shit about me as I was leaving. He's like, "Oh, well, Jay Jones didn't like that." I was like, "Go fuck yourself," and flicked him off and walked out. So, I mean, there's a... No. There's a pretty clear indication that I was unhappy with the jokes. But again, being who I am, I can do that. If I'm a trans person who's smaller than I am, and again, I am also stupid sometimes is the word I'm looking for. I am willing to fight. Like I'll fight a whole audience. Let's go. Like I right. So listen, I am stupid sometimes.
What is this? 300? This is Sparta.
Right. Like I'm like, let's go. Let's do it. But again, some of that comes from me being a giant man for most of my life. I feel like if I were not that, if I were smaller and I were in a scenario where death felt very much more present, then I don't feel comfortable having to and essentially it's either, okay, I'm not a comedian, I can't come to this, but what if I'm just coming to a show? Well, then I just won't come to a comedy club anymore. And why? Why is that a world that you want to create where someone can't come to a comedy club because you spent an hour saying the same things that a transphobic murderer would say to them before they killed them?
Yeah. So that makes me think about Cat Williams. Here's the thing about Cat. He's always been funny, but here's the thing: the more he talk outside of being on a stage, the more he ain't wrong, and it's so funny to watch people go on. But Cat Williams said this. So I don't know why he was there. I think he was promoting something. But earlier this summer, in June, he was on Joe Budden's podcast, and you usually don't hear a lot of jewels coming from Joseph and company before we had the infraction and we had Warring podcast. Let me tell you niggas exactly what happened. Let me tell you about these ungrateful niggas over here. I'm like, y'all are all trash, but keep going. So he brought up cancel culture to Cat. And I've seen this with a lot. You have too, because you've seen it. A lot of cishet black men think that everybody feel the exact same way they do. I don't know why Joe did this, but he said, let's talk about cancel culture. And so Cat said, I think he was expecting him to go, fuck y'all, and stop trying to cancel people and this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. Some of these things are for the benefit of everything. Nobody likes the speed limit, but it's necessary. Nobody likes the shoulder of the road, but it's there for a reason. Because he started this with talking about, if you ask anybody who didn't make it to NBA, if they make the shot, if the hoop was lower, everybody would say yes. We have limits for a reason. So he kept going and said, my point is, people weren't all that extremely funny back when they could say whatever they wanted to say. At the end, it was like, yeah, he talked. Hey, I'm like, hey, Kevin, how you doing? Let me tell you something. He is never going to let that man rest. He always got something to say. Kevin came out and said, I don't even think Cat Williams is a top 5 comedian. And I was like, Kevin Hart is not the barometer on funny, but keep going. It's like, it's like, girl, what you doing? It's like, this is going to be forever. It's going to be like, it's like,
as soon as he said that, I'm like, well, we know who he's talking about now.
It's like, no, I'm sitting here like, girl, what?
He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
It was like, Lord have mercy. So at the end of the day, there's no cancel culture. Cancellation doesn't have its own culture. I don't know what people got canceled that we wish we had back. Who are they? It's done for the reasons it's done for, and it helped who it helped. If all that's going to happen is that we have to be more sensitive in the way that we talk, isn't that what we want anyway? I'm saying your job as a comedian is to please the most amount of people with your art. Don't call somebody this word when you know it affects all of these people. If these are the confines that keep you from doing the craft God put you to, then it probably ain't for you. See, that's the thing. Joe thought that Cat was going to be like, yeah, cancel culture is trash. It's like, yeah, no, because it's like, it's interesting to watch black people do it. I'm like, you do realize there's some white people who like, why can't you talk about niggers? Why can't I use all these racial slurs? What's the problem? Like, yeah, because we're now consuming your art and you need to stop that shit.
Yeah. But that's the best way to look at it. I mean, obviously, I would prefer, hey, why don't we be human beings and be empathetic? But whatever, let's put it in dollar signs because that's what people love. Like in dollar signs, trans people have money; they spend money too. I feel like it was Michael Jordan who famously said, "Republicans buy shoes too."
Yeah.
Yo, trans people come to clubs as well, and gay people come to clubs as well. The majority of the mics and clubs that I worked at when I started were LGBTQ. And so like the majority of them were, I'm talking like that, it was in an area where that presence was just strong and those mics were just for those comedians. And honestly, the thing that I loved about that, the reason I would go to those mics is they felt more welcoming than any other mic. When I would go to when I go to other rooms, other clubs, when I go to primarily black rooms and black clubs, that shit was not, I mean, it was welcoming, but it was always like, it was tiring. It was tiring because I'm not a conservative black person, and I don't get along with conservative black people for the most part. And so it just, when I went to white rooms, it was either I find a room or like a mic
Mm-hmm.
where they would just be just mad racist, just like for real racist. And they would be like, oh, well, there's a black person here, so I'm just going to be racist to everyone else than black people. But then it's like, well, if I'm not here, you got a bunch of black jokes, don't you? I know you do, because you're just racist.
Right.
And the reason I gravitated towards, and this just may be Seattle, of course, but the reason I gravitated towards the mics that catered to the LGBTQ community was because they were inclusive. They, yeah, they actually required you to not be racist or bigoted on stage. They required you not to make people feel as if there's like there are jokes that I've written. Like I have a joke about suicide, which I'm a big fan of myself personally because I wrote it. But I've had a festival that was specifically for, it was the Intersections Festival, so it's for people of color and for the LGBTQ community. They were like, hey, we love your stuff. Can you not do this joke about suicide? It could be triggering for people. It's just, we don't want to spring that on anyone. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I won't do it. And that's understandable because, again, their goal is to try to be as inclusive and to have a space that's safe for everyone, where we still have fun, we still laugh, and we still can talk about tough issues, but we do it in a way that's respectful of other people and respectful of other people's feelings. And that doesn't mean that we can't have fun still, unless your fun is being a bigot, in which case, then no, you can't be a bigot.
You can't at all. It's like, what, like you do. It's so interesting to watch a lot of like a Dave Chappelle and God knows who else want to fight white supremacy, but you want to use tools of white supremacy. It's so super weird. It's so super weird. And so I have watched two queer folks talk about Chappelle. One was, my favorite Black Auntie Diamond from Marsha's Plate. So she does a live YouTube on Friday. I think it was Friday. Nice. She does it every Friday, and she talked about Chappelle. It went into I think she was recording for 4 hours. And it was kind of because it was someone in her comments, because it's like when you do it live, people are responding. And I swear there's this one gay dude who literally wanted her to convince him that trans women have it more, because in his mind he was like, no, gay men have it harder. And it was like, are you okay? And and people in the chat were with her like, look, we're trying to help you. It's like, okay, you're just dumb and we're not doing this anymore. The other one was Daniel. I found them when they were doing Basketball Wives reviews on Instagram. So
I like a good Basketball Wives review.
It was hilarious. They just went live a couple hours ago, and it's kind of like, if you're someone who enjoys comedy, they're like, everybody's thinking like you have no problem with Dave Chappelle, meaning you'll be Flame Monroe. No. And they were like, yeah, I'm not doing all this. And she's like, there was a word I got to figure out. I'm gonna look back at the live, because when they said, do I think Dave Chappelle's transphobic? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't say no. They said, I don't know. And it was the word that they used was not transphobic. It was trans something else. And I got to listen to it. I was like, that's very, very smart. So to watch literally queer folks come out and say this shit is not funny because of those jokes are in close proximity to violence towards us, it's like y'all don't want to listen, because for Dave, it's so easy for him to compartmentalize the LGBTQ community from blackness, because you're like, all the people who got in your face about your jokes were white, not realizing black queer folks will get hit by your shit because black people got proximity to black people. What are you talking about? And so when it was Don Lemon, of course, everybody's like, up, Don. I know Don got something to say. I'm like, he probably does, but I don't know why y'all looking towards Don. And so people, of course, were in the comments saying, leave Chappelle alone, and it's just jokes. I'm like, yeah, but if people were making nigger jokes, you'd want him gone, a la Michael Richards. Yeah. He got gone so quick because that shit is not cool. And you know damn well you would not fight for the death for somebody's freedom of speech to be racist towards black people. You know you wouldn't. So a nice young lady decided to have a go with me And after a while, I was like, oh, you're just stupid. I'm gonna have fun with you. So she started off. I have no problem reading this because this is funny. I blocked her already. So she probably deleted this or she's back in hell. I don't know what the fuck she is. But is the LGBT community okay with punching down with the punching down they do on the Black community? I have no idea where she got this from. I have yet to see any outrage from that community about 3 Black gay men being murdered in Ed Buck's home, and still no accountability from that I don't know what word she was looking for, contributing to the suicide of, I think she meant community of Dave Chappelle's trans friend. And we'll get to her in a minute because I'm going to need them folks to stop. It's like, stop doing this. So I said, so, hey, the crimes of that buck were actually amplified by Black gay men who would not shut up about Ed Buck. It's like, why are y'all not talking about the fact that Black gay men keep dying at this man's house? Yeah. It's like, they did talk about this. It was like, so there is that. Also, it might help you to understand, to be more empathetic to Black LGBTQ plus folks if you understand their intersectionality of being both Black and LGBTQ plus at the same time. We wouldn't have the modern day Black Lives Matter movement without 3 queer Black women. She had more to say. Now, you would think we would be done.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, done. Button it up.
Oh, and there would be no gay community if they hadn't been born by a straight woman and a straight man. Let's see you top that.
Does she know that you don't have to be straight to have babies? Does she know you don't have to be straight to have babies? I don't think she knows.
It's the so top that for me. Let's see you top that. Am I not? So I typed a whole bunch of laughing emojis. It was like, let's see if you can top that. So should I say that being LGBTQ plus does not mean they cannot procreate, and the LGBTQ plus could not only procreate, but could make a LGBTQ plus person or a straight person? Or should I say something else? Let me see you top that. Child. She wants to keep on. I'm like, I think she's trolling me at this point. I'm gonna keep reading.
I think she thinks she's trolling you. She's not, but she thinks she's trolling you.
LOL. They cannot procreate the natural way. 2 persons or 2 swizzle sticks a baby create. They cannot. Girl, even if she meant if it's artificial, it still needs sperm and ovum. Oh, I'm impressed. But you knew that, right? And what Raquel fails to mention is deaths amongst the trans community, not trans, trend, TRAND, because we can't spell, are either prostitution related or domestic violence.
Wow.
I don't know what domestic violence is.
Oh my God, not domestic violence. No,
domestic violence.
There's been an increase in domestic violence.
It's like, whew, this is
seriously, domestic violence has just gone up trifold.
It's just gone. I have like
triple, I'm even triple as many domestic violence accounts.
Violence is definitely the show title. They're like, what the hell, Stephanie? You spelling this wrong?
Domestic violence.
Listen to the show. No,
domestic violence. Oh my God.
It was just like so.
And what about that Shack on Shack crime? What are we gonna do?
Hey, I'm sorry. That is the show title. Shack on Shack crime. So I was like, I'm just gonna have fun because you ever just go back and forth with somebody, which I'm like Span. I'm like, I'm not going back and forth with you niggas online. I have now gotten to a point where, okay, now this is a joke and I'm going to have some fun with this. This is what I checked into. When I saw domestic violence, I'm like, oh, we're going to have fun now. I'm just going to call you stupid. Okay, great. So before you decide to wax philosophically, you might want to use spell check, Sugarfoot. You do know if you have a working female reproductive system, you can procreate. I feel like I have to ask, as you are having issues with spelling, so these complex topics might be a little much for you. Also, there is this thing that the kids use called Google. It's an amazing discovery. It allows you to look up these topics. It pulls up websites with these things called statistics on deaths of trans women, and also gives you understanding of how a reproductive system works. Wait, am I going too fast? I can slow down. It's also hilarious that you are talking about someone, because she was talking about Raquel, which, girl, you can't even spell her name right, that not only lives this experience, but also actually researches it before she goes on Checks Notes CNN. But I am speaking to someone who has trouble spelling.
Yeah, I almost wish you would give her. You remember the old school? Let me Google that for you.
I'm
I
like, I'm
can't.
not. It's like, yeah, I'm like, so that like Google is free, you guys. I'm like, see, you know what? Whoever runs Google, they're going to start charging us like they used to do for text messages. They used to charge
Oh
per
God.
word. It's like they used to,
You know
y'all.
how
We used to have to
dumb we would be
pay
collectively if
that, and
if
we
we
had to
had
go
to
back
pay.
to child.
You know how stupid I would be again.
You
There's so
see?
much. There's so much that I purposely was like, I don't even remember that. I can Google it.
Google it.
Like,
Oh fuck.
how many grams are in an
Oh
ounce?
wait.
I don't know, but I've looked it up multiple times.
Times.
I just Google it every time. So
Let
I'm
me
like, I don't
find
need
it
to
in my
remember it.
Google history. Oh hell.
I don't
Damn
need to
it.
Google it. I can just look it up. Recipes. I don't need to Google. I don't
Google
need to
this. Fuck
save
you,
these.
Google. Fuck you, Google. No, I'm kidding. Please don't leave me. Please, I
Yes,
love
please,
you. Please
Google.
don't leave
We
me.
need you. We need you.
Please don't leave me.
I'm
So,
literally stupid without you.
It's like I'm having fun with people because one, that is what we're getting. We're also getting people making the TikTok videos that are given light by a Ricky Smiley, who literally made a good, like you want to rail against the LGBTQ plus community, but you got Gary with the T all up on your damn channel. You also made a very cute coin dressing up as a woman in your jokes.
As mentioned, I feel like isn't he also the one that has the joke about the choir? No, the band director. I feel like he has a gay band director joke. Yeah, like a one that he runs into the ground. I feel.
Yeah, so people are coming out of the woodwork to defend Dave Chappelle, and it's fine because that community don't do nothing for us. I'm like, so there's this person named Malcolm X. There's a person named James Baldwin. There's 3 queer Black women who did the Black Lives Matter movement. There's a lot of queer folks that you don't even know about that literally stand up for your asses, will be protesting and leading organizations, leading marches, and y'all can't even just not retweet a insensitive joke because you don't give a fuck about people who literally care more about you because they're still fucking Black. It's like, why do you think, I'm sorry, they don't unscrew their Blackness. What is wrong with you?
Well, here's something that kind of made me upset. So Dave Chappelle references Stonewall, but it was like, you realize a Black trans woman was one of the key figures.
Damn white movie?
No, he references the Stonewall riots.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the Stonewall riots, and a Black trans woman was at the forefront of those riots. So how can you reference? So, and that's the thing that really kind of got to me. I think it's something that and somebody else said this as well too. Mm-hmm. I think it is easier for Black cishet men, and you said this earlier. It's easier for Black cishet men to equate gay and trans communities as all white, because when they erase the Black and gay trans people who were there, they also erase all the violence they did to the Black gay and trans people as well as the Black community has done. So by just making them all white, they're just erasing the existence of Black and trans, Black, trans, Black, gay people, because they have been horrifically violent to them for a very, very long time, and that erasure is just an extension, if anything, of that violence.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, what the hell are you talking about? So Ricky Smiley and Stephanie Mills, who I wish a house would fall on her. I'm sorry, y'all. If y'all don't know, Stephanie Mills played Dorothy in The Wiz. I hope a house falls on her ass. Versus Bill Cosby, you would just be talking shit. It's like, oh God, your myopic view of oppression, only Blackness, is starting to overcook my grits. But again, you got the Ricky Smileys and the Stephanie Mills of the world. So they're like giving air to a TikTok video from a lady by the name of dumbass, I'm kidding, Mila Brett, where she is like, where is it? So she's doing this 3-minute video. I'm not listening to this shit. But one of the questions that I was like, this is fucking hilarious. Where's the LGBTQ community when Black women are killed? And I'm like, so should they talk about the Black trans ones or the Black lesbians or the Black bisexual women or the Black, I'm sorry, y'all don't give a fuck about the victims of Ed Buck, but yes, please talk, like you're bringing it up to y'all don't care about Black women. I'm like, hey, hi, sweetheart. Um, cishet men, black men don't care about y'all asses. You might want to cool it.
And
You
also,
might want to cool it.
I also think, like, in all truthfulness, I feel like all these defenses of Dave Chappelle and defenses of like, well, they weren't there for us. We don't. All of this is just, listen. Dave Chappelle showed an extreme lack of empathy, and you laughed at it, and you showed an extreme lack of empathy, and it feels like you're just defending your
And
extreme
that
lack of
is
empathy.
literally it. It's like, none is right. Fuck them gay people. And it's like, what is wrong with you?
You're just defending your extreme lack of empathy, and I get it. You feel bad because now people are like, hey, these are human beings that you're making fun of. Their feelings are hurt. And instead of you just being like, oh, I'm a shitty person, I shouldn't have laughed at this, you've decided to be like, well, where were they when blah, blah. And the truth of the matter is in your decision to do this, all you're showing is how shitty of a person you are. Because if you weren't a shitty person, you know that gay and trans people have been fighting alongside black people for the entirety of the civil rights movement.
Correct.
They've been there. Just because you didn't want to recognize them or see them doesn't mean
like
that
they weren't there.
or act like they exist doesn't mean that they weren't there. And that they weren't, and they're like, well, where were they? Well, yeah, they were there. It's just because in the 60s, being gay would have got you killed, and being black just got your ass beat. A lot of times they were just black. And sometimes they were white, and they were just like, oh, I'm just a white person supporting black people, but secretly I'm gay, but I can't tell anyone that because I'll get killed. But I'm here with these black people
that look just like me. It's like, the thing about it is when you're a black woman, like, guys, we know as a cishet black woman, I know I have more privilege than a black trans woman. It does not negate the oppression that I face by talking about somebody, if a disabled black woman, a trans black woman, a woman on the spectrum, they have more, I have more privilege than them. It doesn't stop the oppression that I face by actually acknowledging that. It doesn't, like, oppression is not a pie. And it's like, every time you just go, y'all sound like white people.
I wish it was a pie, because pie is delicious.
You know what? I wish it was a chocolate pecan.
Oh, there's so much oppression. Oppression everywhere.
Excuse me, I want my oppression in a chocolate pecan pie, okay?
There's so much oppression, I can't eat it all. That's what I want. I want that oppression.
It's like you just go, are you okay? It's kind of like, it's weird. It's like, no, it's like we're so oppressed, but you want to hold on to oppression because you feel like it gives you something in the room. It's like, baby, it don't. It's okay if you're not. It's like, I don't want to place in the oppression Olympics. You want to be up there with the gold. I want to be in 15th place. I want somebody to beat my ass like homegirl that smoked the weed and came back and lost and got last place. I'm sorry, I'm just shading.
No, you're good. Funny. I don't know where this comes from, because people do this. Like, even if you're like in a circle of people and you start talking about like a tough time you had, everyone wants to be like, well, this time, like we used to do this with beatings from parents. Yes. So you'd be like, we used to do it with it like, oh, well, one time, my dad took a chair leg.
Well, my dad beat me.
My dad took a chair leg and cut the chair leg, and then he sanded it down and beat me with it. Yeah, well, my dad pushed me off a cliff, and it's like, yo, okay,
my dad pushed me through a glass plate window. What the hell is wrong? Excuse me.
But here's the thing.
CPS.
The thing though is that in all this one-upmanship, yeah, seriously, you should have ran away from home.
Please call the CPS. Do you need me to call CPS? I could call them for you.
In all this one-upmanship, there is still one fact. Just because everyone was abused by their parents doesn't mean you still weren't abused. We all were abused. We were all abused. We were all abused by our parents. They were physically abused by our parents. And the same thing's true of oppression. Just because everyone else was oppressed doesn't mean that you weren't oppressed. This isn't like syndrome.
Your oppression.
This isn't like syndrome where it's like, well, if everybody's a hero, no one is. No.
No.
No one has to be more or less oppressed than anyone else. It's just we were all oppressed, and ultimately the only person who benefits by us fighting about who was more or less oppressed and who was where and who did what are the oppressors. The only people who benefit from that are the oppressors. It's like, oh, look at them fighting about who we did the worst. It doesn't matter who we did the worst. We fucked all of them over.
Hello?
We fucked everyone over, but let them fight about who got fucked over worse. While they do that, we'll continue to fuck them over. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It's like we get the one draft rule. It's like, and y'all using the one draft rule. You mean the the rule that was made up by white people or the model
Thank you.
minority. It's like, see, and they be using it. You mean the actual rule made up by white people? Let me be very clear. And I hear y'all when y'all talk about Asian folks. I'm like, there's a lot of people who sit into that out of safety. Respectability politics was born out of safety. It wasn't just because we want to be white people. It's more like, hey, I want to come home.
Yeah, I don't love sweater vests.
I do not like having to perm my hair all the time or having to wear wigs so white people would leave me the fuck. There's no way in 2021 we got to make laws for you not to discriminate against my hair for a job. I'm like, what the hell? So it's like the whole model minority lift. I'm like, low key, they do it for Africans and Caribbean folks who immigrate here because they do the same thing. See, then black people could do it. It's somebody who, I see people who are faculty. They'd be like, oh no, I like African black people because they know it's like they come here to make themselves something. Yeah, because the blackness wasn't beat out of their ass because of chattel slavery. But you don't want to have this conversation. Also, hi. Africa was colonized, niggas. It's like there's a thing called apartheid. This is how you know the audacity of whiteness. You came to somebody else's country and said, we're going to take over in fucking Africa. And now they're like, we're going to kick y'all white asses out. Where are we going to go? Back to Europe. Go back where you came from. See how that works and say how stupid that sounds. It's like, go back to Sweden. Go back. They miss you.
But also, really, seriously, go back. No.
So I have to quote the Reverend Dr. Silky Nutmeg Ganache, one of my faves from RuPaul's Drag Race. See, that's the thing. Ricky Smiley. But
he's garbage. He's been garbage for a while.
It's like, girl, he would just be doing stuff, child.
And here's the thing. This is gonna sound fucked up, but I'll say it anyway. I feel like you can tell. So you can tell how garbage someone's viewpoint is by their audience, and Ricky Smiley's audience.
Kind of like the Breakfast Club and the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yep.
Like, if you are going there because you want to see Viola Davis talk about her movies because she has the same birthday as you, have at it, because that's what I do. Look, I'm like, oh hell, I'd
actually, when you said that, I was like, I would watch that. I will 100%.
It's like
watch.
when my faves come there because you know you're not.
I do love
me some
Viola Davis.
She and I share a birthday. She is my birthday twin.
She's pretty fantastic.
Because she's
you are
August
too.
Leo. Thank you. It's like we're birthday twins, and I just love it. So Silky said what she is doing, and she's talking about the Mila video. What she's doing is being the same reporters of Fox News. You can have all of those facts, but when they are not scaled, they are not accurate. We say Black Lives Matter because we are dying at a rate much higher than whites when it is scaled. So when the rate of the 28 Black trans women are scaled to another community, the rate is higher. Furthermore, you're calling on Black masculinity to protect Black women when Black masculinity is doing the harm not only to Black women, but Black trans women. So he's talking about Black cis Black women. Yes. Yeah. I think that you should realize the homophobia and transphobia that she is speaking doing this. To have a real conversation is to not compare the same marginalized group against each other, but to have a solution to how we can break the barrier of discrimination so that the marginalized group that both experience racism and discrimination can come together for the greater good. And to that, if someone Black, no matter if they are gay, straight, older, younger, Christian, Muslim, male, female, non-binary, different, says that they are hurt by another Black person's thoughts or ideas, we should acknowledge it and understand where they come from. If you're not doing that, you're no better than a bigot or racist amongst the Black community. It's time out that the oppressed become the oppressors. Yeah, it's time out. Yeah, time out that y'all are becoming the oppressors. I think that's what she wants to say. And please feel free to read me, call me out, my name, etc. I've worked in academia and now as an entertainer. I've been called everything but a child of God, and unfortunately by my very own people. That's the part y'all don't want us to say, because it's the proximity. I'm like, yeah, as a Black woman, I know if a man kills me, it's probably going to be a Black man. And I'm not saying that because it's like, I just want to say it. It's more, I'm talking about the proximity.
Yeah, and statistics.
It's just stats, boo.
It's statistically, if we're just saying like, okay, what's most likely to kill you? It's a Black man.
It is, and it's like, and the bad part about it is, when we talk about this, I have said this because I've been on Clubhouse and Lord, I have had to take a break. But it's very interesting that black, especially cishet black men, will jump down black women's throat if they just say black men. Finish the sentence. How dare you talk about all of this? And so you watch black women have to qualify their statements by saying either some black men or not all black men or the black men I have met or in my experience with black men. You have to qualify it. And I watch as black men in these same rooms don't do the same damn thing when they just say black women.
But black women just be, and it's
like, girl, and it's like, it's really funny. Y'all shit on black women all day long, but then it's like, black women be asking me, why don't we want to be with them? They're not asking. I've come to this thought.
I don't think they're asking.
We're like, we don't care. It's like, we don't care if y'all date outside your race. We care that you are stepping on us to get it, or saying, why are you with this white woman? Because black women, ... Time out. Why are you with Karen? Why are you with Joni? Why do you want to be with her? Because black women, time out. You have not mentioned Joni at all. And I'm like, I don't know what, hey, hi, non-black women, please know. If he's saying he's with you because, and he starts with black women, just know he don't really like your ass either. And it's like, that's not a compliment to you if he's starting with, because black women are this, that, and the third, that dog got hit by a train. He don't like your ass either. He just really hate black women.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. He don't like your ass either. He just really, really hate black women. And some people think, oh, he covets me more than them. And it's like, yeah, but let me tell you something. You take
I like the use of the word covets.
I'm like, yes, he covets me. That's right. You're jealous of me. No, I'm not, girl. No, I'm not. We don't care. And the bad part, I think I've noticed, and this is on the TikTok, I've seen black men who get really upset and say, I can't believe I got to Brit this out. I'm like, wait a minute. You're mad that black women have stopped trying to bend themselves up to make themselves desirable to you. You don't like black women. You don't want black women, but you don't want them to not want you.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
there's this weird pushback whenever you see, and I don't know. So first of all, I feel like, love who you love, I don't care. There's this weird pushback when you see, from black men, especially when they see a black woman with a white man, or primarily with a white man, but with someone out who's not black. And it's like, oh, okay.
You wench.
You couldn't find a black man, and it's like, okay, but you don't do that when you see a black man with someone else. If anything, you big up them, like, oh, congratulations, you stepped up, which is a really fucked up.
It's like,
excuse
me, y'all got Nick Cannon out here like he filming Species 3 every 2 seconds. Some girl, I was like, did anybody else watch Species 2? Because I feel like this was the plot. This is what's going on. I was like, what the fuck is this? Species 2? And I'm sorry, I was listening to the read, and Nick Cannon said, I'm gonna be celibate until 2022. And he was like, it's October. Kid Fury's like, it's October 5th.
Yeah, so not very long.
I'm like, did you mean 2023? Because even then, that's still not impressive. So you have 8
No,
children.
he meant 3 months. He was like, 3 months is actually a very long time for me.
Clearly, that is a very long time. I was like,
3 months. Like, if you knew how much Nick Cannon fucks. No, if you knew how much Nick Cannon fucks, you'd be like, 3 months. Oh my God. Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be able to? Are you going to be able to walk?
Let me know when you're going to announce when you're getting a fucking vasectomy. How about you announce that? I don't care if you
I don't understand. Okay. While we're here.
Please do.
Why does he have so many children? Can we talk about, like, and then also, just as a follow up, does the world need more Nick Cannon?
And the bad part about it, and not even, and Mr. Got on his whole podcast and said black men are with white women because it's a prize and this, that, and the third. I'm like, yes, we can see. We see it.
Also, okay, I've dated a white woman before. I feel comfortable saying this. It's not a prize.
I've dated a biracial man. I get it. And the thing about it is like,
no. I'm saying it's not a prize. Here's the thing. So I dated a white woman. I married a black woman. Though my wife, to be fair, my wife is
beautiful girl. I'm sorry.
To be fair, my wife is first generation African. So I didn't marry.
Shit. I'm all bored.
Yeah, she's first generation Gambian, Gambian Nigerian. So she's a little bit of both, right? one of the so I've dated outside of my race a lot. I've dated black women a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the biggest thing. Okay, let me just tell you the story, and then I'll make my point. So I was watching this. It was like a poem on YouTube where a black guy was just talking about getting shot by the cops. It was when I
Mm-hmm.
was in Korea, and I just started
Oh,
crying. It was while I was in Korea. Yeah, we've been getting shot by the cops a while, but
wait, you was like, wait, I what?
yeah,
It's
I was
like
in
for
Korea. I
real,
saw
so
this. I saw.
long ago.
Yeah, Korea was a while back. We've been getting shot by the cops. We've been making poems about them at least since 2010. So,
Shut up. See,
so
this is why he's the comedian. It's like since 2010,
yeah,
the early
at least since
aughts.
2010. I'm like crying about it. At the time, I'm dating this girl who's Chinese, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, why are you crying?" And I'm like trying to explain to her,
Oh boy.
like, okay, so then we have to start with, I'm black, right? You know that. You know that's a different thing about me. You know that, and like and like even for her, she knows in America being black is different, and that America
Mm-hmm.
has racism. But because she's never
Yeah.
been to America,
She
trying to
don't
explain racism to
know
her.
it.
Trying to explain racism to her is almost impossible. All
Yeah.
right, I've dated a white girl before,
Sure.
similar conversation, but it's a thing where you will never experience what it is to like you have experience being and it goes both ways, right? Because I've never experienced being oppressed by a man
Right.
and the patriarchy, and I don't know what it's like to like I know what male gaze is. I've
Mm-hmm.
never personally experienced it because it's not possible for me. Like you can look at me like you want to fuck me all you want to, it's just the power dynamics are different, right? A
Correct.
dude looking at
Correct.
me like that and a woman looking at me like that, there's a different power dynamic. So I can't fully understand that, and I don't know how we ever get past that. I mean, I mean, it sounds like I'm making an argument for same sex relationships, but it sounds like I'm making an argument for that. But what I'm saying
I'm sorry.
and I'm
I really keep making a joke. I'm like, just let y'all know, um, sexuality is not you were born that way. It is not a choice because there's a lot of women who wouldn't make this choice. It was
it's also very fluid. Let's make sure we
very,
make that.
just very.
You can like a lot of different stuff.
I'm saying.
And so the thing I was saying is that ultimately I feel like trying to get someone from point A of America's a racist country to point B of this is how this racism impacts me every single day, and it's
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming and it's hard and I carry it, and you've never noticed or saw it or thought about it, is a lifelong trek. At least I think, I don't know. I've never actually stayed with a white person or a non-black person long enough to figure it out. But it was the duration of the relationship was me trying to explain to them at every single point. All right, so you're white or you're not black, so you're not going to get this. But blah 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 blah, and it's that's not a prize to me. I don't feel like, and even with my wife who's first generation, I have to explain some
Mm-hmm.
things. But for the most part,
Yeah.
like there's a
It's
difference
little
in
teeny things. It's little things
small
or big
things.
things, depending on who you talk to.
Well, like, the first time she got called the N word was when she was 30, because
Because she is first. Yep. Okay.
she's first generation. She's been sheltered from it. She grew up in Alaska, so she didn't hear it until she was 30. I was blown away because my first time was when I was 4. So it's different. It's different across the board, but it's not a. I don't think of it as a prize, and I think the only way you would think of it that way is if you are thinking about your relationship to a woman as you owning an object. In which case, then I
Mm.
guess you have a trophy wife, and
Mm.
the trophy you want that makes you look more successful if you're black and a man in your
Mm.
eyes
Yeah.
is the white woman, unfortunately, because you've been taught that by a white supremacist society. But yeah, no, I
Mm.
just don't. I'm not into any of it, obviously. But I feel like it's not. I wouldn't call it a prize. I feel like you have to
Mm.
objectify someone too much for that, and that's just not my thing. Not into
Mm.
objectifying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Jay, I have to tell you, there's a, and I've listened to you, I've listened to Ricky, I've listened to Span, because if
Mm-hmm.
you've seen the evolution of the Span report, it's like, y'all, there's a lot of growth in them years on being on the mic. But also, I've just talked to y'all niggas because that's just how this goes. But I've noticed that you have grown out of the one type of oppression, meaning that I can only see oppression through my view. So I can only see myopically, meaning like I'm a black man, so I'm like I see the blackness. But if a woman is talking about her oppression as a black woman is talking about her oppression as a woman, they're like, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. What you talking about? If you're a black LGBTQ plus person, it's like I'm a black person. I face racism in this community. I find anti-blackness and homophobia and transphobia in the black community. I face a lot of shit and y'all don't recognize it. But it takes a lot. And it's like, even with cishet black women, I'm like, because I see it. So when people are like, you be in these rooms listening to them talk about straight black women, I'm like, yeah. Like, you don't disagree? No, why not? I've been a black woman for quite some time. They not wrong.
It takes work, I think. No, it takes work. Like it's effort to try to understand someone else's experience and there's something that somebody said about communication that I heard today that I actually really liked. Mm-hmm. It was and it's a common thing, but when you come into communication, come in with an open mind to try to understand and not to judge. Right. So the hardest thing I think for many of us to do is, and I've seen it so often, is to try to judge. Like we want to label things very quickly. Mm-hmm. We want to just be like, this is that, and then be done with it. Like this person's gay, this person's not gay, this person's a woman, this person's a man, done. And we don't want to have to like think about, well, this person sleeps with men, but mm-hmm. not exclusively, mm-hmm. can and cannot, likes both, and and we don't want to think about that. And even then, when we try to like, we try to put labels on that, like, oh, they're bi, they're pansexual, they're, mm-hmm. and we try to label it, but in all truth, it's us attempting to try to make this a quick conversation, but it's not. It's not a quick conversation because it's something that mm-hmm. if you are cishet or straight, it is something that you are going to have to work to understand. Just as a man, for me to try to understand what it's like for, like I was walking back from the gym this morning. Sorry for the story. I was walking back from the gym this morning, and I dropped I had a mask because you have to wear a mask at the gym. My mask was in my hand. I dropped it on the ground. I didn't realize it until I got a little bit down the street. So I just turned around. It's like, oh, there it goes. And I started walking back for it. And there was this girl who I assume was a school age child walking the street as well. And we were going at the same time. And in my head, I was like, I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. And me, a big dude just walking around the street.
And there's some big black dude following me.
Walking straight at her because she's going at the same. We're converging at the same point, and I'm like, oh my god, I felt bad. I was like, I feel really bad about this. I hope she's not panicking and thinking, what is this dude doing? I'm just walking to go get to my mask on the ground that's right there, and part of me wanted to just be like, hey, this is weird. I dropped a mask. I'm not following you, but then it feels like that's some shit you say if you were following someone, right? So like, it was like if I were following you, I'd be like, I'm not following you. I would tell you I'm not following you, but I'm following you. So like, I don't know how to have this interaction, and I feel like it's if you are in a position of power in this society, if you're a man, you are been put into a position of power, whether you want to admit it or not. Because of our inherent biases, the power dynamics between a man and a woman are different.
Yeah.
It's not fair, it's not equitable, it's not right, but here we are. And if you are if you're a man, if you're white, if you're straight, and you are considered again, this is not the right terminology, and I apologize to people who are listening, but if you're considered quote unquote normal, so if you're the baseline, there's a power that comes with that. There's a privilege that comes with that.
Other.
Right. There's a power that comes with that. There's a privilege that comes with that.
Yeah.
And trying to understand someone who doesn't have that power and that privilege will always take work from you.
Right.
It will always, and it's not like you'll understand it one day and then that's it. You will always have to work to understand it because it's not who you are. And it's not wrong. It's just not who you are.
Right.
I am not a trans person. I have friends who are trans. I have colleagues that I work with who are trans. I have people who are non-binary that are friends of mine who I work with and that I love, who are amazing people. And I love them as people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully understand all of their journey. And when I
Right.
talk to them, sometimes I learn new stuff. We're like, oh, you're doing what? I didn't even know that was a thing to consider. And
Yeah.
it's part of being a human being so that we can all coexist together is taking the work to
Yeah.
understand each other. And it's going to be work. It's work. It's work for me to understand, my wife when, and I've gotten better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was better at it before I got married. I'm proud to say I didn't have to like have a woman in my life to have empathy. I'm not
It's
one of
like
those
funny. They're like,
dudes.
I'm a girl dad. I love women. It's like, no, you love your
No.
daughter and your mother and maybe your mom, maybe your wife, maybe your girlfriend.
Just your daughter in
It's
most
like maybe your daughter.
cases.
It's like, oh my God, I now realize it because I have a daughter. I'm like,
I
you
didn't.
just
I
love your
didn't have to
daughter.
have that happen. Fortunately, I didn't have to have that happen. It
Look at
was.
that.
It's. I had like a realization because I have a mom who really, really
Yeah.
cares and talks to me and has always cared and talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it still is one of those things I think where it's something that I still have to work at. Like I have to think about it. Like
It's a
there are times when
muscle.
there are times when my wife will leave the house and I don't think about it's dark. She's just walking outside, going to the
Mm-hmm.
car, and it's not until she walks back in that I'm like, "Yo, did you just walk to the car in the dark? Like we don't live in a
Like
bad
why you
neighborhood.
like why didn't you tell
Yeah,
me?
we don't live in a bad neighborhood. But I mean, like of the two of us who needs to go outside at night, like if I can go do it, then like let me go do it. And it's not me trying to take away her equality or take away her ability. It's just like, well, I want you to be safe. If you feel safe, then go ahead and go
Mm-hmm.
do it. But
Yeah.
that's one of the things that a consideration that I didn't have to have or didn't ever make. And the same thing
Yeah.
for if you're not trans, you have never had to think about
No one
how it
questions if
feels
I'm a woman when I'm walking down the street, and I
or
don't
into
have
a
a
restroom.
fear of somebody might follow me, or if someone's like, I hate your existence, they could actually attack me. And in some states, they could just say I panicked, and it's okay. And I'm
Yep.
like, you do realize, hey, black women who are like, no, that's fine. It's like they be tricking. I'm like, no, no one's tricking your man. They really aren't. No one's tricking them. But also,
Yeah.
please remember, there was a time in this country, a woman who looks like a woman, they literally could snatch you off the street and sexually assault you, and nothing would happen to you.
Still
Nothing would
can.
happen. You would get no justice. You still can.
Still
And
can.
so
Still a
now it's
lot of
like
black
the
women get snatched off the streets. That's
hello.
not
It's
a thing
like,
that's gone away.
and that's the thing. It's like they don't want. It's like cis or trans women. They don't want. I say the call is coming from inside the house and across the street when it comes to our safety. When
Yeah.
it's like you see. I saw a couple of tweets where women were like, "Okay, it's getting darker early. That means you got to go to the gas station earlier." And they're like, men going, "Why do y'all keep saying men are dangerous? Why do we have to keep saying it?" It's like you're not asking the right question. Why are women literally, we have to put so many roadblocks in front of us because for some of us, being a woman by ourselves in certain areas, there's way too many videos of women being harassed at gas stations. I'm like, stop thinking these are exceptions. These are the just ones that's recorded.
Oh,
What
fuck
about the
that
ones
shit.
that's
90%.
not?
90% of murders are men.
It's
Men.
like
90% of murders are committed by men. I don't know what the statistics for the amount of people being raped, but I'm pretty sure it's a high number of rapists are men. It's
right.
men. It's when men ask like, "Why are y'all worried about us?" It's because you're fucking killing and raping women. That's
And they're
why.
like, y'all don't care about when men are sexually assaulted. No, Clyde, you don't
Don't
care when
care.
a man is
Correct.
like y'all say, oh, that's right. If like, hey, hi, a 14-year-old should not be having sex with you should not be paying a sex worker to have sex with your 14-year-old, Boosie. But then it's like, let me talk about these trans people. Let me call CPS for you.
The weird part about the 14-year-old too is like, yo, if that had been, and you see it with like, the teacher
Mm-hmm.
molesting the boy, molesting like a
Like,
male
like
student.
you're a man of the honor. I'm like, excuse
Like,
me.
oh
He's
look,
an adult and
it's,
he's a child. This is wrong. What are you talking about?
but the weird thing about the whole Boosie thing is, if that had happened, what like his teacher had molested his child, would
He ready to
he?
fight. If that teacher was a man, he'd be
Right,
ready to fight.
he'd be ready to fight him. But how is it different if it's a woman? It's not. It's not
It's
different. There's
not.
no difference. The whole thing is quite frankly, just a real booster shot for white supremacy and the patriarchy. I
Absolutely.
mean, shout out to Dave Chappelle for selling out finally. I mean, it didn't take him. It took him a while.
So
He started to sell. He was like, I'm not going to sell out, and then he finally sold out. So
thank you for
congratulations.
bringing us back because me and Jay are friends, so we can have tangents. But I wanted to bring this out and shout out to Span because I had totally forgot that Dave Chappelle did this. Dave Chappelle took his black ass to Oprah after he decided to quit his show.
Yep.
And he was talking about the reason.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a joke about a fairy is supposed to be blackface, and then he watched somebody who was working on that show laughing in a way he didn't like. Mm-hmm. And was like, he made a joke, should I fire this person? And then it's like, I don't want black people to be, disappointed in me. And I don't want them to be upset with me if I make this joke. And I'm sitting here like, Dave Chappelle. Did you
find a joke offensive?
Dave Chappelle, for the last 2019, 2 years, has been leading y'all to think he don't understand things. This is from in the early 2000s. He understands this. He doesn't like being told what to do. There is the difference. Dave Chappelle is a very smart person, because if you can get how maybe I shouldn't put this joke on television because I don't want that like white people thinking this shit is cute to laugh at, because he realized white people were laughing at him and not with him. You can understand why maybe you should stop making these jokes. You know what you're doing. And I'm sitting here like, so I'm sitting in the car driving home going, so now I'm mad. Dave Chappelle made y'all think like he didn't understand nothing. No, he gets it very clearly. It's like, oh, see, he had y'all thinking it's so complex, and because he can compartmentalize. Well, this is white people, so it's white shit. And I've been saying it on this podcast for years. There's a lot of black people who can divorce themselves with standing up for black LGBTQ plus people because they equate LGBTQ plus shit to white shit. It's like, oh no, I ain't got to worry about this. I'm like, yeah, but there's some black people over there. It's like, why are you not standing up for them? Especially when they stand up for your ass because they still black.
And I think a lot of times, because again, like we talked about, blacks are conservative and Christians are like, nah, to all of that. To if you're gay or trans, it's like nah.
Nope, that's
especially conservative Christians. Nah, they just
that's
it's
not
a hard,
in the
it's a non
Bible, y'all.
It's a non-starter for them, unfortunately.
It's like,
yeah,
that's not what's in the Bible. But okay, don't believe me. Go talk to a few theologians on the TikTok. See, that's the thing. People are realizing, like, I can't give long TED Talks. I can't give long threads. I got to give you like a 3-minute TikTok video for you to understand this at the most.
I miss the days when we used to. I miss the days when we used to have to go to a library and like just spend days, spend the entire day just like. First of all, no, you have to look up the subject and then find the Dewey Decimal System, like books on in the Dewey Decimal System.
Do you know people probably don't know what the fuck that is?
And then sometimes you go and find the book from the using the Dewey Decimal System. You find the book and then you get in the book and like, man, this isn't what I wanted. And you have to go back to the index card system and look for something else. I miss the days when you had to work for knowledge and people. Either you did the work and you were like, I'm smart, or you didn't do the work and you're like, I'm dumb. I feel like right now, because you don't have to work for knowledge anymore, we all think we're smart, but we're not. We're not all smart. A lot of us are very, very dumb. Mm-hmm. I need us to go back to that time period where we're like, you know what? I'm not very smart because I didn't do any of the work. I want us to go back to having to work to be smart. That's what I'm saying. Less work to be smart. I want work to come back.
It's like, I want y'all to literally look at long form videos. I need you to watch YouTube videos so long you gotta hit that skip ad thing at least 4 times.
I want you to catch I want you to have to catch the bus into downtown and then go to the library. I want you to have to no computers. I want you to have to look everything up using the index cards. The index cards.
Go get,
that's what I want you to do.
I need you to do real research.
when you find it, because you have to go take it to the copy machine and make copies because you have enough money for copies, but not enough money to pay your library fines. That's what I want. I want that. Is that too much to ask? That's too much to ask.
It is, because So 2 more things before we get on out of here. Because
all right,
it's just so the first thing is the nice lady who decided to be the exception to the rule of Dave Chappelle's jokes, who hopped up on that grenade and got roasted
I believe her
by
name was
which
Daphne.
so her name was it was Daphne Dorman, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
So this lovely lady, she wrote a tweet that was defending Dave, and people came after her because, girl, you could have said nothing. You
Could have
could
been
have
very
said
quiet.
nothing. It's like Dave Chappelle said that Twitter ain't real, but then also meant to bring up that she got roasted on Twitter. I'm like, but you just
And
said it's
that's
not a
yeah,
real place,
and very much implied that that's why she committed suicide,
right?
as
Which,
if
as if
as if the real life trauma of being trans, and it is traumatic to be
or
trans in this
mental and
world.
mental health struggles aren't a thing, girl.
Yeah, does not
Dave, you
exist.
can sit here and do this. So her tweet, which was from August 29th, 2019, this was after Sticks and Stones. Punching down requires you to consider yourself superior to another group. At Dave Chappelle doesn't consider himself better than me in any way. He isn't punching up or punching down. He's punching lines. That's his job, and he's a master of his craft. Chappelle apparently called it a beautiful tweet by a beautiful friend, and it's so many people going, "That's right, you stick up for Dave Chappelle." I'm like, "Yeah, hi." So when Candace Owens say shit, y'all like, bitch, shut the fuck up. When Herschel Walker say shit, when Dr. Ben Carson say shit,
Yeah, we celebrated Herman Cain's death.
when
We literally
it's like
celebrated Herman Cain's death.
Herman Cain, it's like, see, when niggas say stuff to uphill the whole white people, you say, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? But then I watch people like actually defend this. And also, her own family came out and said he is an ally. And I'm sitting here like, girl, he just nice. He was nice to your sister. Please stop doing this. Please, she was the exception to the rule where he thought he could make these jokes. If he fucking cared about your sister, he would have pulled the fuck back, because that's typically what usually it should happen. And you've watched the people happen. They have people close to them in these other oppressed, marginalized identities, and they go, well, I have somebody I care about in that identity. Let me just soften up. Not Dave Chappelle, because you put the battery in his back to just keep on going, and then you're gone, and he's blaming y'all.
Yeah.
When she could have sat over there and ate her food. I don't want her gone anymore, and I want more voices out there, because one is kind of like, no one is saying if you were trans you have to be offended, but why? But you could have said nothing. You could have said absolutely nothing, and you didn't. And it's like, but then it's like, y'all killed her, and it's like, okay, this is way too complicated, and I'm not going to do this. It's like, did people come after her? Of course, probably. Or better, they're like, see, non-trans people saying like it's okay. It's like, ooh, that's bitter. Trans people coming out to defend him is even worse. It's like me watching black women stand up for Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. I'm like, I want to slap you blind.
Yeah.
Don't make me snatch you up by your skin. I'm sorry. I've been watching Chasing Reality.
I don't know why people are still defending, like, R. Kelly at this point. How are we still defending him?
Literally defending him. And I'm like, it's like, it's even worse when you see when you see women do it. So it's like, I get why they were pissed at you. I'm like, I'm not coming to look for your ass. I'm just not. You don't have to do this. I think the last thing is the fact that there was a trans person who worked at Netflix and voiced her disdain. Netflix suspended her.
So there's a bit more to that story, because I saw that.
So I was like, oh.
Did you see the? So here's the thing. According to Netflix, they suspended her because she tried to walk into a board meeting of directors to ask questions, which sounds like something that was done in protest. But one of the questions she wanted to ask was there a trans person involved in the production of this, of Dave Chappelle's special, which is a valid question because it spends so much time and touches on so much of the trans community. You think they would have at least been like, well, let's find a trans person to run it by to make sure we're not going to open ourselves up to lawsuits or blah, blah, blah. I don't think they did. I think they were like, basically we're fine. No, nothing's gonna happen. If anything, Dave Chappelle will take the heat, and that's the thing that we kind of talked about initially.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix in that same article said that this is like the stickiest and like most watched. Sticks and Stones is most watched, one of the most like engaging pieces of content they have on their platform. And I wonder if Dave Chappelle's entire purpose isn't just to cause controversy for the sake of selling, or getting people to watch a special.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for this one. This one is probably the one I think that feels like he set out to just be like, I'm gonna try to take as many I'm gonna say jokes of poor taste is how I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna try to say as many of the jokes of poor taste as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just him against everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are pushing back and say, "Oh no, it wasn't because of the tweet that she um was
Sure, it
fired."
wasn't.
And I
I
literally
bet it didn't
forgot.
help.
It didn't help. But also, I just realized something. The Disclosure documentary was on Netflix. So imagine you got all this stuff with Dave Chappelle and have Disclosure um on the same platform. And so the director of Disclosure um said that, and for the record, they rented it for half of what it cost to make it.
Of course
They
did.
rented the documentary for Disclosure. They didn't put the funding behind it,
Yeah.
but they funded Chappelle's special because they gave them the
The
money.
money.
And that's just sad. So she wasn't.
But to their point, Chappelle's special makes them,
A lot
and
of money.
maybe that's another conversation that we really need to have
Yeah.
as a society. Because here's the thing about cancel culture, however you want to think of it, whether you like it or not. One of the reasons that corporations will give for why they continue to fund what is hate speech is how much money it makes them. And in the world that we live in, unfortunately, we value money far more than we value morals.
Correct.
Protesting morally against this is only just giving them more money. And so for them, even if you're like, we're upset about this, it's like, well, did you watch it? Do you still have a Netflix subscription?
Yeah.
Then our job here is done. I think the honest truth is that if we're trying to legitimately enact change where this doesn't happen, it is, don't give your money to people who are going to support transphobic performers and transphobic content. And in whether or not you believe Dave Chappelle is transphobic is beside the point. He literally identifies himself as transphobic during his set.
Yeah.
He literally identifies himself as transphobic and
also,
as a turf.
A turf. And it's like,
during his set.
Y'all don't think, oh, okay, but Wingardium Leviosa, y'all got J.K. Rowling right the fuck on out of here for saying the exact same. Well, she said shit worse. Let me not even say the same thing.
She did.
But she identified herself as a
but
turf.
he sure as fuck co-signed. He sure as fuck co-signed.
Sure did.
And was like, I agree with J.K. Rowling. It was like, okay, so you just co-signed all this shit.
Wow. It was like, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to a couple different things.
Yeah.
There needs to be pressure on producers of comedy shows, both live and television, televised comedy shows or recorded televised comedy shows, to have comedians who, I'm not going to say who aren't offensive, who aren't racist, sexist, transphobic, homophobic, or bigoted. You can be offensive. There's so much more. You can only have to be like, oh, I don't want hateful comedians. No, you can hate a lot more just outside of these realms. There's so much more you can hate. You can go to town on hating stuff. There's a lot you can hate, but just of not this level of hate. So let's not amplify and platform this level of hate. And then also audiences have to do a better job of not feeding into this because it's your favorite, your fave. I wonder how many people watch this and were like, this was okay. But so like the thing happens to an audience that like wants to be there. I don't know if people are aware of this, but like, have you been to a live comedy show before, Stephanie?
I have.
Okay. Have you been to one that like took a lot of effort to get to, like a lot of money, a lot of effort?
I'm trying to think. Was it? Well, no, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay,
What's
all
his
pretty
name? You
simple.
know Ryan Comedy Online?
I don't.
So he's somebody who started on, I guess, Instagram. He's making short videos. I
Uh
think he actually has been in the most recent season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I saw
Oh,
him.
dope.
Ryan Davis Comedy. I'm sorry, I had to think of
Okay.
his
Oh
last
yeah, yeah,
name.
yeah. Ryan
Yeah, I
Davis.
saw
Yeah.
him.
Okay. So the thing I'll tell you that I've seen happen is, especially when we came back from quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a time when like sometimes shows are poppy, right? So like no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you do when you go out and you say something, the audience is gonna laugh. There's been a show I've gone into before where I start a joke and they're like, ha ha ha. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Wait.
calm down.
Let me check
That's the
myself.
premise. Like that's the premise in the setup. Like if you like
Mm-hmm.
that, you're gonna love the punchline. And there's audiences that are like that. And I feel when you have an audience like Dave Chappelle's audience for The Closer, for example, that was what I would call a poppy audience. They were laughing at things that weren't jokes; they were just statements. It's like ah ha ha ha, let's just laugh. Because again, you came to see Dave Chappelle. You've been under lockdown for X amount of time. You're out finally. They told you that it's going to be taped on Netflix, so now you feel some kind of pressure. You had to sign a release to get in. There's a whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, and so like you're laughing because you're like, well, I want to have a good time because I want to make sure that this
Yeah.
is what I thought it was going to be. Who knows how much they paid for it? Who knows what tickets were? Blah blah blah. Right.
Right.
So in all those
Right.
cases, I think you have an audience that doesn't want the performer to do poorly, and which is a great thing if you're a performer. But again, when we're watching this taped special, we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing people who instead of thinking about what's being said, instead of like, and to Dave Chappelle's credit, he is masterful at weaving things together so that they're allowing themselves to kind of get pulled in, and that's fine. But instead of like critically thinking about what he said, like when he did the whole thing about Caitlyn Jenner versus Muhammad Ali, if you stop and critically think about it, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, that's not a point.
That's not a point.
But in the moment when you're just getting swept up in things, you're like, yeah, and start clapping, which is what that audience did.
Correct.
And I
Like,
think,
her first hit woman, she getting an award. I'm like, but do y'all remember the fact that people literally shitting on her for that? It was
oh,
not
hard.
celebrated, honey. It's
It
like,
was it was hard. It was bad. And
mm-hmm.
again, one of the things that people forget
Mm-hmm.
is that like while you're going through this experience, you want to enjoy it. You want to laugh.
Yep. Yeah.
And after it's done and you go back, I think people are experiencing to an extent with some like when it goes, people are coming back and be like, well, this wasn't funny. Well, the first thing they said, well, yes, it was. And it's like, well, here's why it wasn't funny. And when they start reading it, I think they're starting to feel bad
Mm.
for the fact that they were laughing at things. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that is kind of fucked up. Either they think that is kind of fucked up and then they feel bad and get defensive, or they just say, well, you just too soft because they are being defensive. And I think there's a large subsection of people who are defending Dave Chappelle who are just not defending him, but defending themselves. They're defending themselves for laughing and enjoying something that is quite frankly, not even quite frank, that is at the least problematic, at the most hate speech.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you feel bad about it, and you should feel bad about it because you enjoyed what was essentially a rally against trans people. But having said that, that doesn't mean that you are a terrible person. It just means that you have some growth to do. And what we're seeing with people defending Dave Chappelle are people who don't want to do that growth.
Yeah. Like you want everybody to fight for your oppression, but you can't fight for anybody else's, and that doesn't make you strong. It just makes you weak.
Yeah.
It's like, baby, there's a whole umbrella of blackness. It's not just one thing. That's why O'Shea Jackson can't make a contract for Black America that doesn't include stuff that doesn't do
Doesn't
mental
include black
health,
women or
black
he didn't
women,
include black women, didn't
children.
include black gay people, didn't include black trans people. All
It's
it
like, just
was
give us
black
some
men
money. It's
and
like,
property. That's all he cared about.
it's like you didn't like no mental health services, no better like let's talk about food deserts, mostly black, like or just urban areas, but let's say black because that's what y'all think. Urban and black mean the same damn thing. Hello, urban radio. That's not the same thing. Like nothing about black women, nothing about health, nothing about mental health, nothing about education, nothing except give us houses and money. Like this is monopoly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Give us Marlin Avenue. Oh, okay. Shut the fuck.
And honestly, the again to your point, there are there are so many. First of all, even if all black people are free,
Right.
if we get all the freedom for black people, the black trans and black gay people still won't be free.
If we all not free, if
If
every one of
everybody's
us
not
aren't free,
free,
we're not
nobody's free.
free. Nobody's
Correct.
free. It's like we're not doing this.
And
It's
then
like we just can't.
the other thing that we really need to remember as well
Mm-hmm.
is that the divisiveness within ourselves, to an extent, there's
Yeah.
some divisiveness needs to happen because like black men have been fucking up for a long time, and I'm here for black women just dragging the shit out of black men. I'm here for it, but
You're like,
the
you wait a minute. Do you need my rope? Do you need my shovel? I can help you.
I'm here for
don't
it.
forget this. Oh,
I am here for it. But the thing that because honestly, it's needed. But the divisiveness between black people who experience intersectionality and black people who do not doesn't need to exist, because ultimately those black people experiencing intersectionality are still experiencing blackness, just in a different way. It's just a different intensity. And just because you don't understand, and I know for a lot of black people, especially the ones that unfortunately have kind of grown up consumed with the church, just because you think it's a choice that they made for those lifestyles, what you need to understand is, one, obviously, no, it's not. But
it's not.
even if you think that's the case, that choice would not be as onerous if they were not black.
Correct.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, their blackness is what you should care about. And if you, regardless of whether or not you agree with their who they are and how they've chosen to live their lives, if you say you care about black people, you care about them. End of discussion.
Like, why you care? Because they black.
It doesn't matter about, how they've chosen to live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They're black. We're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with black Christians and black conservatives, they don't want to wrap it up that way. It's always like, well, you got to be straight and cishet, and that's how.
And Christian,
we know.
because
And Christian, don't be
and
Muslim,
Jewish.
don't be Muslim, don't be Muslim, but be black, be black and Christian and cishet.
Like, you black, no,
straight.
You gotta love the Jesus. I'm sorry, I've been watching Kim's Convenience. The show is fucking
It is very
hilarious. It's so good, and so every time they say the Jesus, I literally lose my shit. Okay?
No, it's good.
It's so good. It's like, we have been going on and on just because I like Jay, and there's a lot to say about Dave Chappelle. Now, mind you, he's putting the button on him being at Netflix.
So he says.
So he says.
So he
the
says.
Thing. They don't.
He quit one time before, if you recall.
He did, and then he came back and said, "Oh, I left because this, that, and the third." I'm like, yeah. So what got me is the CEO of Netflix, who's defending to the death his right to say whatever he wants. It's like, yeah, because they're like, we're suspending them and because we're investigating how y'all got into this meeting that y'all weren't supposed to be at with directors and vice presidents of the company, because apparently you ain't been listening to them. But hi, HR here. Yeah, you can't do that. I'm sorry.
You can't run up in meetings. That is correct.
You can't run up in meetings, but I feel like
you can, but you're going to get suspended.
Yeah, you're just going to suspend them for a couple of days with pay.
Well,
and you're going to let them come back.
Okay.
But they're going to be on a performance improvement plan. They're going to have to watch their P's and Q's until they can find another job, and I'm pretty sure they can.
I was going to say, let's be honest. Let's be wholly honest. I have worked in a company that I went through a racist incident with. Have you had that? You've had that experience, right? I assume every black person has. I assume, and like 90% of the time, I'm right.
It's like, I'm saying our level of racism, not white people's level of racism. It's
no.
Racist. They're like,
no. There was no. It wasn't a Klan rally. It wasn't a Klan rally. It wasn't a Klan. No, it was not. Was not a Klan rally.
You said it was. I was like, what the?
No. It was not a Klan rally. In fact, I feel like I've told you this story before, but
that's right. You have. Yes, you.
Let me cap it off real quick for people who haven't heard it. I was in a meeting and we were talking about teamwork. And we're like, you got to be a good team player. Not like that Colin Kaepernick. I hate that Colin Kaepernick. I just want to hold him down and rip his afro off. What? Almost word for word what was said. And I'm the only black person in the meeting just sitting there like, with the fro, by the way, just sitting there like,
wait, not Jay with the fro, child.
had a fro and was like, okay, so, and I'm looking around, everyone else is like,
So
just having a.
y'all didn't hear what he said. Y'all ain't just hear what he said. Y'all. So
oh no, I knew they heard it because they were all laughing at it. All just laughing, having a great time, laughing about lynching a black dude. It was just fucking fantastic. And one of the worst parts about that entire thing is, like, even afterwards, I went to HR and I had a conversation with HR about it. And HR was like, oh, that was terrible. HR being HR was like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. That was terrible. But what ended up happening is that at that job, it was because we were talking about teamwork at the time. And when we started talking about lynching someone, I was viewed as not being a good team player because I wasn't down for the lynching. Because I wasn't down to hold, because I didn't want to hold Colin Kaepernick down and rip his afro off, because I saw that as being anti-black and also as being dehumanizing. Because I saw it as that and I called it out, I was the anti-team player and I was the one that kind of got a stigma around himself. Now, I left and found another job, thankfully, and went to go do, better and greater things. And at the job I'm at now, been there for 2 years. Nothing racist has happened, knock on wood. But
come on, knock on wood.
One of the hardest things for people to do in a company is when you have spoken out against something and the overwhelming majority of the company are just looking at you like, I don't understand what the problem is.
I mean, but did he do, he didn't say nigger, did he?
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, there's nothing we can really do because there's no,
Although, because I'm in Seattle, it's worse. It's, oh, that was terrible. He shouldn't have done that. We're going to have a conversation with him. And then just nothing happens. Except people side-eyeing me and looking at me like I'm the problem. Like I'm the person with the issue. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you hear that as a black person and you see that as a black person, and by the way, what you need to know about the person who said this, beloved in the company. Everyone, to the point he was a sales manager, people look forward to his sales talks because he was funny. Everyone's like, oh, he's so funny. He's going to say some funny stuff. And I think the sad part is that as a black person, we've all probably had this experience. But for some black people, it is impossible for them to understand how that translates over to someone who's trans or someone who's gay. It's like you've been through that. You've had that experience. You know what it feels like. You know how hard that is at work, at a place where you have to work. This is a place I have to come because I need money to survive in this stupid ass capitalist society. I have to come here every day. And sometimes on the weekends when I don't want to be here, I have to be here. And this will forever be the place where someone was racist as fuck and you all supported it. Not only was he racist and not like everyone like looked at me and got quiet. No, you laughed and you fucking clapped for that shit. And as if you supported, again, holding down Colin Kaepernick and ripping off his afro. So for someone who's trans, who is a comedian, for example, who has to work at venues and work as a comedian, in their workplace, people not only said things that were transphobic and hurtful to them, but had a call and response hour where someone was like clapping and laughing and co-signing the bullshit that they were saying. And it's a lot. It is a lot. And I don't understand how people don't see the correlation. If like you've ever had that happen, you should understand the correlation. And they're like, well, they weren't there for our pain. It's like, what if they had been there for your pain? Would it have stopped? Would it have stopped your pain? Is that what your complaint is? Is that they didn't kill everyone and rid the world of slavery and oppression? Is that what you're complaining about? Because they're oppressed too. I'm pretty like that's like being a slave and being mad at other slaves for not killing the master. Well, you could kill them too, So where are you? What are you upset about? Where's the problem? Because they were there too, being oppressed with you. That's what happens with oppression. So instead of being mad at the people who were oppressed with you, be mad at the oppressors. Please.
Pretty much.
Oh my God, please. Like we wouldn't be oppressed if we were madder at oppressors. We could all be free, but here we are doing this bullshit. Here
we're doing not my podcast. He's just talking about we're having this conversation.
No, I'm just saying we could. No, this is fantastic. This is a wonderful time. But
he's like he wants to talk about this. They be like, because I can hear Taria. Who the hell is Jack? And why would he say this? I'm like, Taria, what? She's from Jersey. Don't mess with her.
No, no,
And
no.
and she's an Aries, so she'll fuck you up. No.
No. This podcast is delightful. I'm talking about like having to sit here and talk about Dave Chappelle. It's just, or even just not even Dave, because Dave Chappelle's not the first person to do this. And I want to make sure I say this because I wanted to say this. If you're going to take these stances, and I get it, as a comedian, a lot of comedians want to be like, I want to take an unpopular stance and then work my way back. It's a real comedian thing to do. I have had a comedian say to me recently that they feel that is the height of comedy ability, and I mean, great. If you were going to do it, I would tell you to go watch Paper Tiger by Bill Burr, because here's the thing. Bill Burr starts off Paper Tiger sounding a lot like Dave Chappelle, where it's like, this is getting super like it's tight, it's real tense. But then he starts like 20 minutes of just like really being like, I don't understand this, I don't understand that. But then he spends 40 minutes explaining how he's fucked up and how he knows he's fucked up, and that's why he's having such a hard time keeping up with the world.
What?
I don't know if you've ever seen Paper Tiger, but that in and of itself,
I have to look now because I'm sitting here like, oh,
Bill Burr, he's not always this good at it, but Paper Tiger is probably one of the best examples, I think, of someone who's like, I don't understand this thing, I don't understand this cancel culture stuff, and then he just goes completely introspective, and he's like, the reason I understand this is because I was beaten. I grew up with my dad didn't love me. I'm looking for love. I have problems. I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm angry. I'm worried about being angry around my kids. She's gonna grow up angry. And he does all of this introspection, explaining his issues and explaining why he's damaged. And it comes out, so it's funny, it's poignant, it's relevant. He touches on topics that, if you were typically, you're like, well, if you're white and straight, you shouldn't talk about this. But he manages to do it in a way that it centers it on him trying to become a better person, and how hard that is for him, and why it's hard for him to be a better person. And so instead of just pointing fingers at other people and saying it's other people's fault and saying, well, they're the reason, you're the reason you're mad, not me. He's saying, I'm the reason you're mad. Here's why I'm like this. Here's how I'm trying to change. And he said, here's how I'm trying to change. And I think it's a better way to go about this, because I think that's it. It's more poignant. It speaks more to the moment. And also with where we are, maybe we need to highlight people who are actually trying to change and be better, as opposed to always highlighting the people who aren't.
Yeah. And that, you know what? That is a great way to end. Because it's like, it's been every time I think about Dave Chappelle, it's like, and the reaction from people, it just drives me nuts. But I'm glad we're stopping there. Y'all, this has been a good conversation. Before we go, as always, I am honored to know you. And I'm so glad that you were here, that you made the time. Y'all, it was light outside when we started. It's dark in the house now.
Yeah, I didn't stop to go turn the light on, but I should. Like, it is black. It's pitch black in here. I just got a monitor light. I'm like, I'm
like, we've been recording for 84 years. That's
what I look so creepy now. I'm like, oh no.
It's coming out. It's coming out of the darkness. But please let everybody know how they can find you. They can find Frown Town, which will not make them it will not make you frown. You will smile from laughter.
Okay, yeah.
From you'll laugh that they're talking about, but gallows humor. Okay.
Yeah, that's who we are.
V is my boo. V is my boo boo boo.
V is awesome. So I'm on Frown Town with V. V Chatty. We're both comedians. It is a politics podcast, but we're comedians, so we laugh and we tell jokes, but we talk about really sad stuff. And that's why it's called Frown Town. You can find it on Spotify. Just look for Frown Town. You can find us on Instagram and on Twitter. Excuse me. I almost said my Twitter handle. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Frown Town Pod. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Adjective_J. I have shows. I'm in a weird space right now for comedy. When everything started opening back up before, when they were like, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. I was like, yes. And I went hard in the paint for comedy. And then people start, I went super hard. I was like, comedy, comedy. And then people started getting sick again. And I was like, oh no, what if I'm helping spread that? So now I'm in this weird place where like I have shows and I'm trying to be more selective about the shows I'm doing. I'm not currently traveling, though I am making plans to travel next year. I might be coming to a show near you. I might don't get too excited. I am trying to go to the east side. I definitely want to go.
Let me tell Asa right now.
I,
Asa!
I'm definitely coming to the East Coast. Well, I'm saying definitely. I'm trying to come to the East Coast. That's a better way to put it.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm working on that now. That's probably going to be 2022. It depends really on like how things are looking. I'm hoping things open up soon. Cause I got to tell you, comedy sucks when everyone's afraid of being spit on. It's it is. Oof. I don't know if you've ever seen what a mic cover looks like, but I had not either until now. It is super weird. It's weird. Ooh. It's weird. We have mic covers. We are like people wearing. I tried to do a show in a mask. I couldn't. I'm saying all this. It's hard.
Covers. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like you come. They give you a little. It comes like a little pack. Looks like a condom. And so you get on stage. You pop out the little mic cover. You cover the mic. And then you do your thing, and you pop your cover off when you're done, and you hand the mic back, and then they pop on the cover and like, oh, yeah, it's wild. It's a lot.
Wow.
I'm saying all of this to say this. I do have shows currently. They are in Seattle. When I have shows that are anywhere, I put them on jjonescomedy.com. That's J as in the letter, Jones is in my last name, and comedy as in what I do. jjonescomedy.com. If you go there now, you'll see I have shows coming up this week. In Seattle, I am hosting this weekend at the Ballard Comedy Club, and I am going to be in Yakima. Right now, I don't have ticket info. Yeah, Yakima's not. I'm not looking forward to that. It's going to be a great show, Yakima.
Silly. You such a man.
So I'm going to be in Yakima October 31st. It will be for Halloween. It is for the Joke Masters of Yakima, so I'm the headliner for that. I will probably have more shows next year. Typically I winter. So like in November, because of the holidays, I just kind of like put my head down, and then I come back in the next year around January, February. I don't know if I'm doing that this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to take some November shows. I'm also trying. I have been trying to produce a fully black comedy show in Seattle since pre-quarantine times.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I have so far I've had a venue 3 times, and every time COVID has stopped me. So is COVID against black people? Yes, it is.
COVID is racist.
COVID is racist against black people who want to have a good time, maybe smoke weed in the alley, and then laugh at some jokes afterwards.
That's oddly specific, but it sounds
that's what COVID hates. But
it has a very, very specific demographic of blacks.
Right. If you are black in Seattle, or if you're not black in Seattle, but you would watch an all black show, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. I want the all black show to be broadcast via podcast. Haha, it rhymes. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and when that does happen, it'll be called The Blackout. You will hear me talking about it a lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I need black people in Seattle, around Seattle. Go to Tacoma, go visit Rachel Dolezal's place, her stomping ground. Y'all can come over there. So yeah, I need y'all to be there. Okay. Y'all not far from Seattle. I'm in Tacoma.
I'm in Tacoma pretty frequently. I was in Tacoma. I perform in Tacoma. I had a performance in Tacoma like a month ago. I'm in Tacoma pretty frequently, actually. Like, I'm in Tacoma a lot. Like, if you're in Tacoma, like, look for me. I'm around. I might be in Tacoma in November.
Let me find out.
So there you go. Yeah, I'm here. That's me. So yeah, that's everything. Just look for the comedy. I wish I did videos. Like, I don't. I mean, I say I wish I did. I should, but I don't. One day.
You are so. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Y'all, please. now I'm gonna have to start asking black people, do you live near Seattle? Do you know Jay? You're like, the hell? It's like some random ass nigga named Jay in Seattle. I bet you know who he is though.
if I'm doing my job right, they'll be like, yes, I do. If I'm doing it right.
Yeah, I'm trying to know all the black people know you in Seattle. I need everybody who likes good food to know Rashani in Sacramento. Look, I know niggas that y'all need to know. I need y'all to know Charmaine in Texas. Okay. I need y'all to know these amazing dope people that be making the shit that y'all like and I like. And I wish
Charmaine is doing it big right now too.
Excuse me, she at conferences, she getting flued out without having to give up.
Her Instagram got me jelly as fuck.
I was like, oh, excuse me, you get flued out and you ain't got to do nothing to get flued out. Oh, okay, let me find out. It's like
she's impressive. It's impressive. I'm seriously impressed.
I was like, how do I get sponsored?
Right?
Fly me out, honey. Fly me out to these places. I'll go.
I like airline flights.
Hello, it's like I want to go to
fly me coach. I'd be okay with that.
Convenience. I want to go over there and go have dinner with Appa. Fly me out to Toronto so I can go to, so I can have a good time. I'm sorry, I really do love Kim's Convenience, y'all. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. It's
a good show. It's really
fucking good.
Is it like 3 seasons now?
I think it's all 5 of them because I think
all 5 of that. Oh well, let me go watch 4 and 5. I've only seen 3.
Yeah.
Well, I got something to do tonight.
See?
Well, all right.
Let me tell you, because Shang-Chi was very good, y'all. Yes, Awkwafina was still there, but
I don't hate Awkwafina as much as everyone hates her. I really don't hate Awkwafina.
I just
some of this.
Yeah, she was there.
I'm not being controversial. I promise you, I'm not being controversial. But I feel like some of this is like I get we all hate the black scent. I get that. I'm not a big fan of it either. I, however, know for a fact many Asian children who code switched with us because they grew up around us. And I never hemmed them up for it. It was always just like, yep, you talk like a black person around us, and then you talk like an Asian person around your parents. I know a lot of Asian people like that, and I think that's why I'm okay with the black set. I guess I'm not okay with it. I would never defend it. But if you're like, does it offend you? No. But I would never like cape for it. I'm not gonna cape for it.
Yeah. This is my issue with Awkwafina. She didn't grow up around black people. So I'm like, see, it'd be different.
Well,
if you did. And it's like,
right, which is why I'm not defending. I'm not here to defend it. I'm not here to cape for it. I'm just saying I'm not offended by it because I knew Asian people who grew up with me that had a black. Well, they code switched, so they had a black scent with us. And when they went home to their mom and dad, because mom and dad were like, "No, you speak English to us," and so they were like, "Yes, mother, father," and I would watch them code switch, and it never registered to me as being anything other than what we did, because I used to code switch with my parents because they were like, "Don't you speak that slang in my house?" You know what I'm saying?
Like,
talking
white. It's like, what?
No, I used to talk white in my house. My parents weren't cool with me talking black. They were, we were mad Christian.
Oh, okay.
We were mad Christian.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was super respectable.
Yeah, it was like
missionary Baptist.
Yeah. My parents, until they learned of Bill Cosby's many failings, were very big fans. Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, after they found out about everything, they were like, they were just, that's a shame.
You know, it's bad when your mom was like, "Girl, everybody knew about Bill Cosby." Wait, tell out what?
I didn't. I wish I'd known.
Like people were just like, she was like, "Oh no, everybody." They're like, everybody knew about Bill Cosby. It's
so wait. So then we just let that shit slide.
How about that? Hello, R. Kelly was took for 30 years, and they're little.
Oh, we all knew about R. Kelly, but here's the thing: we all knew about R. Kelly because of Aaliyah.
Bill Cosby. Yeah,
we all knew about R. Kelly because of Aaliyah, and I think what happened was after the annulment, we were just kind of like, "Ha, that was silly," and then we kept moving. But he was writing songs with. That's in the deposition for that. Ooh,
is okay, y'all. No,
right? We can't do it. We can't do it. But like, it's the stuff they were talking about, like what people walked in on with him and Aaliyah. I was like, what? And it's like, why did you walk in on this with a 14-year-old and not be like, let me? I get not let me call the cops, but let me call her parents. Let me get her out of the situation. Let me move her because
her parents are clearly unsafe. That marriage got annulled.
Yeah, she's clearly unsafe
on the marriage certificate.
Call someone's CPS, anyone who has a 14-year-old's interest at heart, because no one in this room does.
Call the Baltimore City Police Department. Like
he's no one has her.
I don't give a good goddamn. Call all of the laws, all of them.
Call
the sheriff.
What was witnessed was a 14-year-old
Having sex with a grown ass man. It's
Being
like,
molested.
how?
No, being molested.
True.
It, that's
And you
and
walking in, it's like, oh, I'm gonna walk back out. It's like, where the fuck?
because the phone is in the other room, I assume. So you can call and be like, "Hey, you got to come get her, and
I
she's got
mean,
to go.
it's like,
She doesn't
look,
need to be
man,
here."
there's no way that a Bill Cosby or R. Kelly could cook for so long. I'm like, so for everybody
And
else,
no one
a
ever see it.
Harvey
Yeah,
Weinstein without some sort of enabling. There's no
that's true.
possible way.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
Because
there's
otherwise,
that.
yeah,
How
yeah,
would
and that's
how did
that's
you
the
get so
saddest
far?
part about all that. I think
Very much.
that is the saddest part about all that.
But y'all, this is not Frown Town. I'm kidding. We Jay will be back. I just want to let y'all know.
Oh, I will. Yay! I'm coming back.
I
Yay!
cannot do this with him. He's like, oh, for real? Back?
I'm coming back.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I'm so excited. I'm so
Oh my
excited. I'm
God.
coming back, guys. I'm coming back.
Could
Yay!
not talk about problematic comedians. We'll talk about something else. I
It'll be
mean,
fun. I feel like that's been kind of my thing for a while. It's just been like comedy. Though I am very vocally upset about comedy because I live in this world, unfortunately, and I am very upset about how unsafe it is. It's
I
extremely
will
unsafe
say,
for
I'm
women.
like, guys, I'm a witness. So I know we're on the mic and we're saying this, but just know when the mic goes down, he do be saying this shit. He's like,
Yeah.
no, it is not cool. It's like, I'm ready to like fuck some people up. So
Yeah, yeah, it's extremely unsafe.
Yeah.
There are places that I will not perform because they house predators and producers that I know are predators. There are people I won't perform with because of that very same reason. And I, if you are a comedian or an audience member or a producer and you're listening to this, I would ask you to do the same thing. Like, don't work with people who are predators. Like, don't work with people
don't
who are
make me
rapists.
choose. Don't let them come to your venue.
Yeah, like, and you'll be better for it because you'll have
saying.
a venue that's safe for your performers, that's safe for your audience, and that's safe for everyone. So why not make a safe space for everybody to come have some fun and laugh? Because I feel like we all need it.
Y'all have no idea. He's spitting all these jewels in this really dark room, and
It's so dark.
It's just like he's just talking. It's like the guy who paints Bob. It's like he's just sitting here talking about fluffy little clouds. Stop letting trash in your comedy spots. Here, a nice little tree. I'm like, I swear, watching Bob Ross, that's his last name, literally made me think I could paint. I'm like, I cannot paint. What the
Right?
fuck is going on here?
I thought I had talent.
I really could. I could be making trees on a canvas. Girl,
Hang some of my artwork on these walls.
Girl, what? It's like, sheesh, I could be in the Louvre right now, but y'all fucking around.
I just need to get me a couple of oil paints and a spatula, and I'm about
Please
to get
watch
to
that
going.
documentary, y'all, because I'm like, oh, it's like, all right, so y'all are trash around him. So y'all, Bob Ross isn't trash, but the folks around him were, well, not beautiful gals.
Nope.
No.
They weren't happy little trees.
They were not. They were like happy piles of shit. Oh my god, y'all, this is the Welcome to This Podcast. I will be back. I don't know who's going to be back next week. I don't. You guys, wait, I gotta find Kendrick because we're going to have to talk about Bravo. Yeah, y'all don't see my face. It was very quiet because my eyes, as my mother would say, are permanently to the side.
Yeah, it was a pretty hard side eye.
It was. I'm just saying. I'm no Pam, but my side eye game is almost on her level. So
I liked it. It was good.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you in more ways than one. Guys, I'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. Please, if you could buy me a coffee, I would totally appreciate that. I do put the commercial in, but guys, I really would. I love coffee. And money. Money. I'm sorry. I sound like the peanuts. Money. Maybe 10s and 20s. I'm kidding. I'm not saying that. I won't turn it down. But I'm just saying. I'm being silly because we've been recording so much. It's very dark in Seattle, Washington, home of the Russell Wilson with the broken hand. But he's still
what's wild is my window over there is open, so you can just see me, like my face illuminated. in the window talking to a mic, and it's like, what is he
what
doing?
What the hell are you up there doing? We're talking about Russell Wilson, who broke his whole hand, but don't think he not chopping Sierra's cakes down to smithereens because he's a whole freak.
I would say, listen, I was at the gym and I heard level up.
Fucking Sierra.
I was at the gym and I heard level up, and I literally almost passed out from the amount of effort it took to keep up to level up. And then I remember how much she was dancing throughout that. Mm-hmm. I feel like he has to be a whole ass freak. I feel like
I'm sorry, Russell Wilson.
It's so much work.
He got stamina because he got.
Oh, he's an athlete. He's an athlete, but I feel like she wears them out.
She look like she do, but I noticed that nigga dropped 3 octaves. He turned his telephone voice into his permanent voice. I'm like, why the fuck are you talking like this? It was like,
well, hello.
It was like, anytime, man, that she breathed in him. He's like, up, it's dick o'clock. The fuck is wrong with you? They are just. She's like, hello, up, dick time. No, I am just saying hello, sir. So Sierra, please, I don't know what the fuck you did to him, but he was like, let me just put a ring on this because I'm tired of this shit. And
congrats to him.
I'm just waiting for baby number 1. How many babies they have?
I honestly
3.
don't know.
I'm waiting for baby number 4 because Future is, well, that's Russell's son. I don't give a damn what y'all say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean,
that's Russell's son. So there are 3 children. I'm waiting for baby number 4, probably 2023.
I mean, fathered by action, not by blood, right?
I'm just saying. It was like, I'm sorry. I'll never see you around your kid. That's Russell's son. You see him.
Future talks about him a lot.
Now. He does. Yeah. And it's like,
he talks about him a lot, but that's pretty much it. He don't.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm sorry. I don't know how we got here with Russell. It's just that I know a freak when I see one.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Guys, I'll be back next week. Bye.
After watching the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, I have thoughts. And at the end of the day, what I think that a lot of you all are missing is that Dave Chappelle, like many black cishet men, absolved themselves of the idea of what their relation is to the black LGBT community. You see, he talked about how white trans women thought that those jokes were funny and didn't take any issue with them, but failed to mention the ways in which black trans women have to navigate black cishet men in a different way in order to survive. He failed to mention the ways in which black women as a whole, whether it be cis or trans, have to navigate black malehood in order to feel safe on a daily basis. And that is why those jokes weren't funny. The reason why black trans women didn't laugh or snicker or giggle is because those jokes are not just jokes where we come from. Those jokes affirm men that are looking for affirmation and reason to kill us, to do away with us, to vote against our livelihoods and our humanity. It wasn't the intent, it was the impact. And that's the thing that I think so many of you all are okay looking over, because you're okay looking over the intent versus the impact and a lot of the jokes that he made about women and white folk and disabled people. And that's okay if you're willing to let those things slide, but don't be upset at another community for not being willing to let those things go, because those things are things that affect us detrimentally. Don't be upset with a group of people that has been so marginalized that our lives have literally become a chopping block for the government to dismantle one piece at a time. Don't ask yourself why black trans women don't think that it's funny. Ask yourself if you've ever laughed at a racist white person who tried to make light of slavery.